The killing intent of the Tianhong Saint Sun. A group of people was gathered in a luxurious courtyard in the inner court. Among this group of people, Huang Wen was among them. That Lu Ming. What a terrifying speed of advancement. It's only been a few decades and he's already an inner disciple. A young man said in shock. This man is a monster. When he grows up in the future, I'm afraid he will pose a threat to the saint's position. We must get rid of him. Huang Wen said through gritted teeth. Huang Wen, I heard that you and your brother have a grudge against Lu Ming. Because of this, Lu Ming even killed many people from the transient light sect when he was in the outer sect? Isn't that right? Some people looked at Huang Wen. These people were all from the Sacred Sun of Reflections faction. They were all experts from the inner sect. Not bad. Huang Wen nodded. Since there's a grudge between us, we must get rid of him as soon as possible. Send someone to keep a close eye on Lu Ming's movements. Once he leaves the Kongxian sect, send someone to get rid of him. A young man looked at Huang Wen and said, All right. Huang Wen nodded as a cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. However, deep in his eyes, there was a trace of fear. Lu Ming's growth rate was too shocking. It made him feel fear. In another luxurious courtyard in the inner court, a group of people gathered together as if they were waiting for someone. Within this group of people, there was actually an outer sect deacon, Le Zhong. These people were all from the Tianhong Saint Sun's faction. The saint is here. Someone suddenly called out. As soon as he finished speaking, a few figures descended from the sky. The one in the lead was a handsome young man in luxurious clothes. He exuded an obli temperament. This person was the leader of the Tianhong sect, the Tianhong Saint Sun. He was one of the 5 saints of the Kongxian sect. Kongxian sect had a total of 5 saints and 2 saintesses. He was one of the strongest disciples, and had a chance of becoming the sect leader. In the Kongxian sect, one could not become a holy son or holy daughter just because they had mastered the divine power. Mastering divine-grade divine power was only the most basic condition. It also depended on one's cultivation and combat power. Only when one met these requirements could they become a holy son or holy daughter. To become a saint or saintess, one had to be at least a heavenly god. We pay our respects to the saint. Le Zhong and the others immediately bowed respectfully. Rise. I've just come out of seclusion. Why are you looking for me? The Tianhong Saint Sun said. Saint, it's because of an outer sect disciple. No, he's already an inner sect disciple now. A young man answered. Someone who just became an inner sect disciple. The Tianhong Saint Sun was confused. Was there a need to report to him about someone who had just become an inner disciple? Saint, this person is a monster with shocking talent. He has only been in the sect for few decades and has already become an inner sect disciple. His combat strength is also amazing. He walked out happily and told her about Lu Ming's performance during this period. The Tianhong Saint Sun frowned. This person is extremely arrogant. Our Tianhong sect had invited him to join us from the very beginning, but he didn't care at all. I guess he's also very ambitious. He wants to form his own sect in the future and compete for the position of sect leader. Many people from our Tianhong sect have died in his hands, including Ying Song. Le Zhong continued. Ying Song is dead. The Tianhong Saint Sun's eyes flashed, and he exuded cold killing intent. Ying Song was ranked 4th on the virtual god ranking list. He was very talented and could become his powerful subordinate when he grew up. However, he had died in Lu Ming's hands. You still want to form your own faction? The Kongxian sect has 7 major factions, which is more than enough. Also, since we've already made enemies, we have to get rid of them as soon as possible. The Tianhong Saint Sun's indifferent voice was heard. Don't worry, Saint. I'll send someone to keep an eye on this kid. Once I have the chance, I'll personally take action and get rid of this person. Le Zhong said coldly. All right, I'm relieved to have you take action. The Tianhong Saint Sun said. Then, everyone started to discuss other matters. Lu Ming knew nothing about this. He and Qiu Yu had been cultivating in seclusion in the Divine Pulse Tower. The Divine Pulse Tower was too useful for Qiu Yu. In less than half a year, Qiu Yu's aura had reached the peak, and she was trying to break through to the Void God realm. A few days later, Qiuyu successfully broke through to the first level of the Void God realm. After Qiuyu's breakthrough, Lu Ming was relieved. He left Qiuyu alone in the Divine Pulse Tower to cultivate while he left for the Divine Technique Valley, to cultivate the divine skills. Spring went and autumn came. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. In the past 20 years, Lu Ming had been focused on cultivation. His 3 divine skills had all made great progress. He had reached the 4th level of the 9 heavenly Kuanpeng technique, the 4th level of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, the 4th layer of the 9-layer crimson gold armor. All of them had reached the 4th level, which was very shocking. The higher the level of a divine skill, the more difficult it was to cultivate. Of course, the power would also be stronger. Many experts at the peak of true God had only cultivated their divine skills to the 4th stage. Only some terrifying prodigies could possibly cultivate to the 5th stage at the peak of true God. Lu Ming had just broken through to true God, and he had already reached the 4th stage. Moreover, he had 3 types. If this was known by others, their eyes would pop out of their sockets. At the same time, Lu Ming had also fused 8 cold moon stones into the secret skill, Ice Shackles. The Ice Shackles was officially completed, and its power was shocking. In 20 years, Lu Ming's cultivation level did not increase. He was still at the 1st stage of true God, but it had been completely stabilized and he was slowly approaching the 2nd stage of true God. It was more difficult and took a longer time to level up to true God level. Moreover, Lu Ming had cultivated 5 divine flames. It would be more difficult to level up. It was normal to not have a breakthrough in 20 years. However, compared to 20 years ago, Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by more than 1 level. It's a pity that the battle character formula has reached a bottleneck. It's hard to break through. Lu Ming frowned. He had almost reached a 100% success rate of the battle formula's triple combat power, but he still couldn't reach quadruple combat power. He had encountered a bottleneck and tried all sorts of methods, but it was difficult to improve. Lu Ming, it's hard for you to level up because your divine body isn't strong enough. At this moment, a deep voice rang out in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. It was the sound of the battle formula. The battle symbol art had always been very quiet and rarely spoke, but now it spoke. His divine body isn't strong enough? Lu Ming was stunned for a moment before he came to a realization. The battle character formula triggered a higher number of combat power, and the requirement for the divine body was indeed very high. If his divine body wasn't strong enough, he wouldn't be able to use the battle formula. That's right. It's just that your divine body isn't strong enough. If you want to cultivate the battle character formula to quadruple your combat power, you have to increase the strength of your divine body. Otherwise, you won't be able to cultivate to quadruple your combat power in your entire life. In fact, when your cultivation gets stronger in the future, you won't even be able to triple or double your combat power. The battle character said, "Divine body? How should I improve my divine body?" Lu Ming frowned. When he came to the primeval universe, he found that the creatures in the primeval universe paid attention to the cultivation of divine power. As their divine power became stronger, it would also subtly temper their divine bodies. Hence, the higher one's cultivation was, the stronger one's divine body would be. However, there were no divine techniques that could improve the divine body. Chapter 2761 Ancient God Star. It seems like I have to read through the ancient books and see if there are any methods to increase the strength of my divine body. Lu Ming pondered. At this moment, a strong aura was emitted not far away. Lu Ming looked over. Over there was a round ball floating in the air, shining brightly. It was Qiuqiu. It seems like Qiuqiu is going to advance to the true God stage. Lu Ming revealed a smile. Over the years, Qiuqiu had swallowed a large number of divine weapon fragments, and its level had also been constantly rising. It was about to rise to true God level. Not long after, Qiuqiu officially broke through. Its aura was powerful, and it reached 1st stage true God. It then flew toward Lu Ming, turned into a bracelet, and wore it on his wrist. Lu Ming smiled and left the place. He went to look for ancient books and records to see if there were any ways to improve the divine body. For the next few days, Lu Ming buried himself in reading various books and finally found a method. Ancient God Flower. Lu Ming muttered. And MBSB, according to the ancient records, there was a divine flower called the Ancient God Flower. It was extremely mysterious, and after consuming it, one's divine body would evolve and become stronger. However, the Ancient God Flower only existed in one place in the entire Qin Heaven star system, and that was the Ancient God Star. According to the ancient records, the Ancient God Star was occupied by a race in the distant past. This race was known as the descendants of the ancient gods. They had the bloodline of the ancient gods, and their divine bodies were stronger than those of the other races. Only this race knew how to plant the Ancient God Flower. This race was not considered a big race in the Qin Heaven star system. It was just a small race. However, it had disappeared in the distant past. Of course, the Ancient God Flower had also gone extinct. After flipping through so many ancient books, this is the most reliable method. Let's try our luck. Lu Ming sighed and decided to try his luck on the Ancient God Star. He definitely couldn't give up on the battle symbol art. This was an ancient origin word, and its value was immeasurable. If he gave up on the battle symbol art, it would have a huge impact on his combat strength. After that, Lu Ming set off to the teleportation platform and headed to the Ancient God Star. Lu Ming is going out. As soon as Lu Ming went to the teleportation platform, he was targeted. The two young men followed from a distance and also arrived at the transportation platform. It seems like I'm not the only one who wants to kill this kid. Behind these two young men, there was another person, Le Zhong. Lu Ming had no idea about this. He walked into the teleportation array and teleported away. May I ask where that person was teleported to? The two young men came to the teleportation formation and asked a burly man who was guarding it. I'm sorry, but I can't tell you where he's going. The burly man said. There were rules for them to guard the teleportation formation, which was to keep it a secret. I'm telling you. We were sent by the Sacred Son of Reflection. Now the Sacred Son of Reflection wants to know where that kid is. Are you going to offend the Sacred Son of Reflection? A young man said coldly. The burly man's face turned pale. He couldn't afford to offend someone at the saint level. Once he did, he wouldn't even know how he died. He's going to. The burly man told them about Lu Ming's whereabouts in a trembling voice. The two young men sneered. They stepped into the teleportation formation and chased after Lu Ming. After the two young men left, Le Zhong came forward and revealed his ident. 1. Tai as the Tianhong Saint Son. The burly man naturally did not dare to offend him, and informed him of Lu Ming's whereabouts. Le Zhong also stepped into the teleportation formation and chased after him. The Kongxian sect couldn't reach the ancient god planet directly, so they could only teleport to a nearby planet and fly there on an interstellar warship. After more than a month of traveling, Lu Ming finally arrived in the sky above the Ancient God Star. The Ancient God Star was huge, and it rotated slowly in the starry sky. Lu Ming sat on the starry sky warship and flew around the Ancient God Star, observing it carefully. Legend had it that the descendants of the ancient gods lived on a divine mountain called the Ancient Gods Mountain. However, for some unknown reason, the Ancient Gods Mountain suddenly disappeared from the Ancient Gods Star and never appeared again. Lu Ming wanted to find the Ancient Gods Mountain because the Ancient God Flower could only be found there. However, he didn't find the Ancient Gods Mountain even after circling the Ancient God Star several times in the interplanetary warship. Lu Ming had no choice but to choose a random place and land. After entering the atmosphere, Lu Ming kept the starry sky warship and flew towards a big city below. Not long after Lu Ming landed, two interstellar battleships flew over and landed. They were the two young experts from the Floating Light faction and Le Zhong. Lu Ming landed in the big city. The big city was very prosperous. There were many races and people came and went. It was very lively. In the distant past, the ancient god star had been under the control of the descendants of the ancient gods. However, since the disappearance of the descendants of the ancient gods, the ancient god star had fallen into chaos. Countless forces were born, and they fought with each other until now. Have you heard? Another family has been annihilated. I've heard about it too. It's really tragic. The entire family was killed. Not even a chicken or dog was left. This is the fifth family in this area to be destroyed in the past 3 months. I wonder who did it. Why did you exterminate these families? These families are just small families. Those who can do this must be the major forces. Not long after Lu Ming entered the city, he heard a series of discussions. Let me tell you, I heard a piece of news. It is said that all of this is because of the ancient god map. Suddenly, someone said in a low voice, Ancient god map? The others were puzzled. It's the ancient god map. With this map, you can find the ancient gods' mountain where the descendants of the ancient gods are. That person said, What? Can you find the ancient gods' mountain where the descendants of the ancient gods live? Many people were shocked. Legend has it that the descendants of the ancient gods were exterminated for some reason. However, there are a lot of treasures left by the descendants of the ancient gods in the ancient god mountain. It is said that whoever can find the ancient god mountain and obtain the treasures inside can unify the ancient god star and become the overlord of the ancient god star. That's right, the ancient god map. Could it be real? Many people exclaimed in shock and excitement. It's most likely true. It's said that it appeared in the nearby area and was controlled by a family. That's why the families were destroyed one after another. The person from before said. These words set off a huge uproar and spread wider and wider. Can you find the ancient gods mountain on the ancient gods map? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It was better to come at the right time than to come early. Lu Ming did not expect to hear about the ancient gods mountain as soon as he arrived. Since families have been destroyed one after another, I guess there will be another one. I'll go to these families and wait. Maybe I can find some clues. Lu Ming pondered and then asked around. In this area, there were a total of 9 great clans. 5 of them had already been destroyed, and there were still 4 left. Let's go to this Fu clan. Lu Ming randomly chose a family. After figuring out the route, he headed in that direction. However, after Lu Ming had flown for a distance, 2 young men appeared in front of him and blocked his way. Killing 2 geniuses, who are you? Lu Ming frowned. He could sense a cold killing intent from the 2 young men. The person who will kill you. A young man with 2 bull horns on his head said coldly. Bus. Then in a flash he appeared behind Lu Ming, blocking his way of retreat. You're the disciples of the Kongxian sect? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he asked. Hee, at least you're smart. I'll let you die in peace. That's right, we're inner disciples of the Kongxian sect, and belong to the Sacred Son of Reflections faction. Do you understand? The bull-horned young man said coldly. Sacred Son of Reflections faction, it's really you guys. Lu Ming sneered, his body exuding a cold murderous intent. There were only 2 sects in the Kongxian sect that wanted to kill him. One was the Fu Guang sect and the other was the Tianhong sect. Brat, you even have killing intent towards us. With your cultivation of only stage 1 true god. You want to kill us? This is simply laughable. The bull-horned young man sneered and stepped forward, his violent aura soaring into the sky. 7th stage true god. The bull-horned young man was at the 7th stage of true god realm, and the divine power he controlled was king-grade divine power. His fighting power was enough to fight against an ordinary 8th stage true god. At the same time, the other youth also burst out with a terrifying aura. He was also at the 7th stage of true god realm. 2 heaven's favorites at the 7th stage of the true god realm came to kill a person at the 1st stage of the true god realm. No matter how heaven's favorites this person was, it was a sure thing. Because the difference was too great. It was no wonder that they found it ridiculous that Lu Ming had the intention to kill them. Kid, I'll send you on your way. Remember, the one who killed you is Niu Fun. The bull-horned young man took 1,000 steps and threw a punch at Lu Ming. What? Cow dung? Lu Ming almost laughed out loud when he heard the name. That was a really good name. However, before Lu Ming could think further, the other party's fist force was already pressing down on him. Buzz. A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hands, and he thrust it forward. In the process of stabbing, Lu Ming had already exploded with 3 times his combat strength. Boom. The spear and the fist force collided, creating a violent boom and overflowing energy. The bull-horned young man retreated a dozen steps, while Lu Ming's body only swayed a little. How is that possible? Your battle strength. The bullhorned young man's eyes widened in shock. How was it possible that Lu Ming had the upper hand in a head-on collision? How could a first-stage true god possibly have such powerful combat power? The other young man, who had a relaxed expression, was no longer relaxed. His face was filled with solemnness. Clearly Lu Ming's attack had frightened them. Kill! The bullhorned young man bellowed. A battle-axe appeared in his hand, and he slashed it at Lu Ming with terrifying power. The bullhorned young man had already used his divine skill. Break the sky. Lu Ming also used his godly skill. Clang! This time, the bullhorned young man's body shook violently, and he was forced to retreat again. Even after using the divine skill, he was still at a disadvantage. Adi in it. Quick, attack together! Attack together! The bullhorned young man roared. The other young man had already made his move. His figure flashed and he pounced at Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. A brilliant sword light burst out and headed for Lu Ming. 3 apocalyptic strikes break the sky. Lu Ming swung his spear again. This time, 2 spear lights burst out and attacked the other party. Clang! Clang! The 2 sides continued to exchange blows. The 3 figures flickered in the air at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. To be honest, the bullhorned young man and the other man were both very strong. They were at stage 7 of True God Realm, and had king-grade divine power. Even one of their divine skills had been cultivated to stage 4. With the 2 of them working together, it would not be easy even for Lu Ming to take them down. After exchanging dozens of moves, although Lu Ming had the upper hand, he could not completely crush them. This man is too powerful. Let's retreat and report this to the saint so that he can send more powerful people to kill this kid. Not bad. The bullhorned young man and the other young man conversed in secret. Their eyes were filled with deep fear. A first-stage true god was actually able to suppress the 2 of them when they joined forces. Such a monster was simply unheard of. Even those holy sons were far inferior to Lu Ming in a battle of the same level. Although those saints were powerful, there was a limit. However, Lu Ming was simply a freak. Let's go. The 2 of them quickly retreated, trying to escape. You want to leave? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. Ice chains. Then with a thought, 8 chains flew out of Lu Ming's body. That's right, there were 8 chains. Lu Ming did not use his full strength. He did not use the most terrifying chain. However, these 8 ice chains had all been refined into cold moon stones, so their power was equally shocking. As soon as the ice chains appeared, they were like 8 long snakes, dancing in the sky and winding toward the bullhorned young man and the other man. Break! The bullhorned young man and the other man attacked crazily, trying to break the ice chains. However, when their attacks landed on the ice chains, they were completely unharmed. On the contrary, a terrifying chill spread out from the ice chains and entered the bodies of the bullhorned young man and the other man through the divine artifact. The 2 of them shivered and a layer of frost appeared on the surface of their bodies, trying to seal them in ice. Ah! The bullhorned young man and the other young man shouted with all their might, but it was to no avail. They couldn't break the ice chains at all. The ice chains contracted and became tighter and tighter. In the end, they wrapped around the bullhorned young man and the other man tightly, making them unable to move. Kill! Lu Ming said coldly. He thrust his spear forward and killed the bullhorned young man and his companion. He waved his hand and kept their storage rings. The sacred sun of reflection. The cold glint in Lu Ming's eyes intensified. These 2 factions had tried to kill him time and time again. In his heart, he had already been sentenced to death. He would destroy these 2 factions sooner or later. If I go all out now, it would be equivalent to a heaven's favorite at the 8th stage of True God Realm. After this battle, Lu Ming had a rough estimate of his abilities. If he used all his means now, he was probably comparable to an 8th stage true god, who controlled king-grade divine power. If he only controlled ordinary divine power, Lu Ming could even fight against a 9th stage true god. Fighting a stage 9 true god as a stage 1 true god, if it was spread out, it would probably scare people to death. In a flash, Lu Ming left the place. Shortly after Lu Ming left, Le Zhong's figure appeared there. At this moment, Le Zhong's eyes were filled with shock. In fact, he had seen the entire battle just now. Lu Ming's combat strength had deeply shocked him. Too terrifying. This kid's combat strength is too terrifying. He mumbled to himself. As he recalled the battle just now, the fear in his eyes grew stronger. A stage 1 true god could actually kill 2 stage 7 true god geniuses. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Misunderstanding. I don't know if this kid used his full strength just now. It's not good for me to fight him head-on. Lu muttered. He was really frightened. His cultivation was already at the peak of the 9th stage of the true god realm, and the divine power he controlled was also king-grade divine power. His fighting power was much stronger than the bull-horned young man and the other man. However, just now he didn't dare to make a move. He could not gauge Lu Ming's actual combat strength, and was afraid that Lu Ming had not used his full strength just now. If Lu Ming had not used his full strength just now, he would not be confident if he went out rashly. I'd better hide in the dark and wait for an opportunity to strike. It seems that Lu Ming came to the Ancient God's Star to look for the Ancient God's Mountain. If the Ancient God's Mountain appears, he'll be able to obtain some opportunities. He pondered and made a decision. He decided to hide in the dark and wait for an opportunity to kill in one strike. Lu Ming continued on his way to the Fu residence. The Fu clan was located in the middle of a mountain range. Even from a distance, one could see the luxurious palaces built on the divine peaks. Lu Ming was about to fly forward when suddenly, figures flickered from all directions. At the same time, sharp attacks were launched at Lu Ming. Lu Ming frowned and cast the 9-layer crimson gold armor. A crimson gold armor enveloped him. Bang! Bang! All the attacks landed on the golden armor and were blocked. Buzz. And MBSB whoosh. In a flash, the group of people surrounded Lu Ming. They had ferocious expressions on their faces as they stared at Lu Ming cautiously and fearfully. Who are you? Why do you want to exterminate my Fu clan? A burly man roared. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He was roaring in his heart. When did I want to destroy you? Seeing that Lu Ming did not say anything, another old man shouted. Don't waste your breath on him. If he wants to kill us, then we'll kill him. Let's kill him together. Kill. The group of people roared. There were at least a few hundred of them, and they launched an attack on Lu Ming. Among this group of people, the one with the highest cultivation was at the 4th stage of True God Realm. There were even many of them who were at the Virtual God Realm. Although there were many of them, they were not a threat to Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not have the habit of standing still and not retaliating. A long spear appeared in his hand. He swept the long spear horizontally, and a huge spear light crushed toward the crowd. Bang! 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 This group of people, regardless of whether they were 4th stage true god level or virtual god level, were like sandbags. They were sent flying by Lu Ming and fell all over the ground. How can he be so strong? Someone shouted. They were filled with despair and stared at Lu Ming with hatred. Hey, I have no enmity with you. It's fine if you attack me for no reason, but you're also looking at me as if you have a deep hatred for me. What do you mean? Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. No grudges? Are you not here to exterminate my Fu clan? An old man called out. Exterminate your Fu clan? If I wanted to exterminate the Fu family, would you still be alive? Lu Ming touched his nose and said. Everyone on the other side was stunned, and then they looked at each other. That was indeed the case. With Lu Ming's abilities, it would be as easy as turning his hand if he wanted to kill them. Just now he had sent all of them flying with one shot, but he did not kill a single one. If he wanted to kill them, why would he do that? Then you. And you are? The old man looked at Lu Ming uneasily and stuttered. They were afraid that Lu Ming would kill them if they angered him. I heard that 5 families have been exterminated in the vicinity. I was curious and wanted to come to your Fu clan to take a look. I didn't expect to be regarded as an enemy by you. Lu Ming smiled and did not find it strange. The other party was facing the danger of being annihilated at any moment, so it was normal to be a little frightened. Young hero, I'm sorry. We were too impetuous just now. That stage 4 true god old man apologized repeatedly. It's fine. Lu Ming waved his hands. His expression suddenly changed as he looked in a direction. It seems like the person who wants to exterminate you all has really come. What? The Fu clan elder's expression changed drastically as he quickly looked in that direction. Whoosh! 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 In that direction, there were many black shadows flashing towards them at an astonishing speed. Within a few breaths, the black shadows had arrived and surrounded the Fu clan and Lu Ming. There were more than 200 of them. These people were all wrapped in black robes, giving off a mysterious and dangerous feeling. Who are you people? What are you guys trying to do? The Fu clan elder asked in shock. Hand over the map of Ancient God's Mountain, and I will spare your lives. One of the black-robed men said in a Hoa RSE voice. What map of the Ancient God's Mountain? Our Fu clan doesn't have a map of the Ancient God's Mountain. The Fu clan elder roared. No. Hee, you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Then let's exterminate the Fu clan, and we'll find them ourselves. Kill. The leader of the black-robed men waved his hand, and more than 200 black-robed men moved. Their figures flickered, and they charged toward the Fu clan's people with extreme speed. They're all experts. Lu Ming took a glance and realized that these black-robed men were all experts. Most of them were true God realm experts. The strongest few had reached the 5th stage of true God realm, and their abilities were far above the Fu family. Defend, defend. The Fu clan elder roared and gathered the Fu clan members into a defensive formation. Although the Fu clan had more people, their strength was far inferior to the other party. Lu Ming did not take action immediately. He planned to make the Fu family suffer a little before he took action. However, even though he didn't want to do it, someone forced him to. Kill. A 3rd stage true God realm black-robed man charged at Lu Ming. The cold blade light was aimed at Lu Ming's head, wanting to split him in half. I originally wanted to let you live a little longer, but you're really looking for death. Lu Ming said coldly. He thrust his spear forward and killed the man. When the other black-robed men saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. Kill. Lu Ming made his move. His figure flashed and his long spear trembled. Rays of spear radiance burst out. Among these people, the highest was only at the 5th stage true God realm. Moreover, the divine power they controlled was almost all ordinary divine power. In Lu Ming's hands, they could not even withstand a single blow. If. Each spear light would take a person's life. Over 100 spear lights burst out, and over 100 men in black were all killed. Their corpses lay all over the ground. The scene suddenly fell silent. Both the men in black and the Fu clan were extremely shocked. Let's go. After a few seconds, the man in black finally reacted and started to escape in all directions. They understood that they had encountered a terrifying expert. If they stayed, they would all die. If you want to leave, then stay. Go. Lu Ming growled. 8 ice chains flew out and grew rapidly. The sky was filled with the shadows of the chains, binding the hundreds of men in black. How could these black-robed men avoid the attack of the ice chains? They were all bound by the terrifying coldness of the ice chains and froze there. Chapter 2764 Region Lord Wandering Wind. More than 100 men in black were all bound by Lu Ming's ice chains and frozen by the cold air. Didn't you want to know who they are? I'll leave it to you now. Lu Ming looked at the Fu family. Only then did the Fu family people wake up from their daze. That stage 4 true God old man walked over and stared at a black-clothed man as he asked. Speak, who are you? Don't even think about getting anything out of me. The black-clothed man said gloomily. You're all wearing black robes to cover your faces and hide your heads and tails. You're afraid that people will recognize you. I'd like to see who you are. The Fu clan elder waved his hand and tore off the black robe, revealing a middle-aged man's face. Seeing this person's face, the Fu clan elder was stunned for a moment before revealing a shocked expression. He roared, "It's you 19 guardians. Are you the people of Protectorate Lord Yufeng?" The Fu clan elder's voice trembled as if he was extremely shocked. Region Master Wandering Wind. It's actually the Region Master Wandering Wind. We're finished. The other members of the Fu clan were also pale with fear. Region Master Wandering Wind? Lu Ming was puzzled. Young hero, it's like this. After many years of war, The ancient god star has been divided into many territories. Each territory has a territory master. The Wandering Wind Region Master is the ruler of this territory. He is the overlord of this territory, the Fu Clan elder explained. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. I didn't expect that it would actually be Protectorate Lord Yufeng who sent someone to attack. I didn't expect. The Fu Clan elder sighed. Their Fu Clan was merely a power governed by the Wandering Wind Protectorate Lord. How could they possibly contend with the Wandering Wind Protectorate Lord? Now that Protectorate Lord Yufeng had set his eyes on them, the Fu Clan would most likely be annihilated. Since you know that we're Domain Lord Yufeng's men, why don't you let us go? The 19 protectors said with a dark and cold expression. Since he had been recognized, he no longer had to hide it. That's right, let us go. The other men in black also shouted. The Fu Clan elder and the other Fu Clan members were hesitant. Just now so many of their people have already died. Also, that so-called Region Master Yufeng has already set his eyes on your Fu Clan. Do you think that if you let these people go, the other party will let your Fu Clan go? Lu Ming said calmly. Kid you. The 19 guardians and the other black-robed men are all greatly shocked. That's right. Kill all of them. We can even weaken the strength of the Region Master of the Wandering Wind region. The Fu Clan elder gritted his teeth and revealed a ruthless expression. You dare? The 19 guardians are shocked and furious. A blade light flashed as the Fu Clan's old man made his move, splitting the 19 guardians in half. Attack! Kill them all! The Fu Clan elder roared. Kill! The Fu Clan had all attacked the black-robed men. The men in black were bound by Lu Ming's ice chains and could not resist at all. They were killed one after another. Soon more than 100 people were all dead. Lu Ming waved his hand and kept the ice chain. Young hero, can I invite you to the Fu family as a guest? The Fu Clan elder stammered. Next, the Fu Clan would definitely have to face the revenge of the Region Master Yufeng. With their Fu Clan's strength, they would definitely not be able to withstand it, and would only be destroyed. However, the abilities that Lu Ming had just displayed were extremely shocking. To have such combat strength at such a young age, he was definitely not from the ancient god star. There was a high possibility that he was a genius disciple from one of the major forces in the Qin Heaven Star Zone. He wanted to ask Lu Ming for help. Perhaps he could help the Fu family tide over this crisis. What's the Domain Lord Wandering Wind's cultivation base? Lu Ming asked. I heard that he's at the 8th stage of True God Realm. The Fu family old man said. When talking about Stage 8 True God Realm, his expression was extremely solemn. An 8th stage True God wasn't something their Fu Clan could go up against. Their Fu Clan's strongest expert was only at 5th stage True God. Stage 8 True God Realm? Alright, I'll go with you. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming didn't take the 8th stage True God to heart. Even if it was an 8th stage True God who controlled King-grade divine power, Lu Ming wasn't afraid. Lu Ming would not be a match for those top geniuses who had mastered terrifying secret skills, or whose divine power was of the holy grade. Thank you, young hero. The Fu Clan elder was overjoyed when he heard Lu Ming's agreement. The other Fu Clan members were also overjoyed. The crowd cleaned up the battlefield. Lu Ming followed the Fu Clan members and headed back to the Fu Clan. A group of people came to welcome him as soon as he arrived at the Fu Clan. Grand Elder, what's the situation? There seems to be a big battle over there just now. A middle-aged man in luxurious clothes came over and asked the Fu Clan elder. The Fu Clan's old man was the Fu Clan's Grand Elder. Clan head, there was indeed a huge battle just now. The other party is Region Master Yufeng's man. The Fu Clan's first elder said. What? Region Master Wandering Wind? The Fu Clan head's face was as white as snow. It's all thanks to this young hero Lu Ming that we're still alive. The first elder of the Fu family immediately explained what had happened. After the master of the Fu family heard that, he naturally thanked Lu Ming profusely and treated Lu Ming as a distinguished guest. After that, Lu Ming stayed at the Fu residence. As for the Fu clan, they were nervously on guard, waiting for the arrival of a powerful enemy. 3 days later at dawn. Enemy attack, enemy attack. A sharp sound broke the silence of the early morning. A dense crowd of people flew out from the Fu clan's palace and laid down a defensive formation, waiting in anticipation. It's finally here, Lu Ming muttered. He moved and left his room, standing in the air. The Fu clan was surrounded by a large crowd. A terrifying pressure was surging towards the Fu clan like a tide. Protectorate Lord Wandering Wind, it's really him. Many of the Fu clan members muttered to themselves as they stared at an old man with pale faces. This elder was dressed in a golden robe and exuded a dignified aura. He was the governor of the Wandering Wind Protectorate. Bang, bang, and MBSP die. Protectorate Lord Yufeng stepped forward, causing the sky to rumble. His divine power boiled, and his powerful aura formed a terrifying pressure that enveloped the Fu clan. Many of the Fu clan members trembled and almost couldn't withstand the pressure. Protectorate Lord Yufeng, may I know how my Fu clan has offended you to the point that you've gathered so many people here? The Fu clan had braced himself and stepped forward, cupping his fists in respect. You know the answer. Hand over the map of the ancient God's mountain, and you can spare your life. Region Master Wandering Wind said coldly. Zone Leader, the Fu family really doesn't have a map of the ancient God's mountain. If we did, we would have handed it over a long time ago. The Fu clan had said. He meant what he said. If he had a map of the ancient God's mountain, he would hand it over immediately in exchange for the Fu clan's peace. Humph, you don't have to quibble. The map of ancient God's mountain was made of point soul gold. Point soul gold has a special characteristic, which is that it can sense each other even if they are far away from each other. And I happen to have a small piece of remnant soul gold. Through the soul gold, I can sense that there is definitely some soul gold in this area. But it's so rare that there aren't many on the ancient God star. It's very likely that it's the map of ancient God's mountain. Region Master Wandering Wind said. Ancient God's mountain map. As soon as Protectorate Lord Yufeng finished speaking, a piece of purplish gold metal the size of a fingernail appeared in his palm. At this moment, the surface of this piece of metal was shimmering with light, as if it was resonating with something. Everyone came to a sudden realization. They finally understood why there were so many families being annihilated in the vicinity. That was because Protectorate Lord Yufeng had sensed the appearance of a little soul gold in this area. Through the little soul gold, it was highly likely that it was the map of ancient God's mountain. However, he wasn't sure of the exact location. Thus, the clans went over one by one and searched for it. However, he was afraid of being criticized by others, so he had all his subordinates wear black robes and mask their faces. But my Fu family really doesn't have any soul gold. The Fu clan had called out, his face full of helplessness. Father, could it be related to the batch of ancient objects I bought last time? At this moment, a young man came to the side of the Fu family's head and whispered. Antique? The Fu clan head was stunned. Yes, I bought a batch of ancient objects last time, and wanted to study them to see if they have any value. One of the scrolls has a similar color to this soul gold. Wang Yao said. The young man said. What? Region Master Yufeng's eyes lit up when he heard the young man's words. What? There's such a thing. Hurry up and take it out. The head of the Fu clan hurriedly called out. Yes. The young man nodded and took out a storage ring. The storage ring glowed, and a pile of antiques appeared in the air. They didn't seem to have any spirituality, but they looked very simple and were full of the traces of time. Especially one of the scrolls. The color was really similar to the soul gold, but the color was much darker. When these items were taken out, the soul gold in Protectorate Lord Yufeng's hand immediately shone with a dazzling light. Then the ancient scroll suddenly shone brightly and resonated with the soul gold. Ha, the map of the ancient God's mountain. It's really the map of the ancient God's mountain. Give it to me. Region Master Wandering Wind burst out laughing. The master of the Fu family quickly grabbed the map of ancient God's mountain and said, Protectorate Lord Wandering Wind, I'll hand this map to you. You must promise to let my Fu clan go. Alright, I promise you. Now hurry up and hand it over to me. Region Master Wandering Wind said hurriedly. The Fu clan's master muttered to himself for a moment. With a wave of his hand, the The map of the ancient gods' mountain flew towards Protectorate Lord Yufeng, and was caught by him. After he caught it in his hand, he hurriedly opened it to take a look, and his expression became even happier. Ha ha ha, I finally got it. Now, since you have handed over the map of ancient gods' mountain, I will give your Fu clan a quick death. Region Master Yufeng said coldly. What? Didn't you say you would let our Fu clan go? You didn't keep your word. The patriarch of the Fu family roared. Credibility? Last time, I sent more than 200 people here, and all of them died in your Fu clan. If your Fu clan isn't destroyed, how can I face my subordinates? Region Master Yufeng said coldly. His eyes were extremely cold. He had no intention of letting the Fu clan go from the very beginning. Hee Yufeng, you're still as despicable as ever. At this moment, a sneer came from the sky. It was filled with mockery. Who is it? Region Master Yufeng's expression changed as he looked at the sky. Yufeng, you can't even recognize my voice? The voice rang out again. Buzz. Buzz. Then a few figures appeared in that direction. The leader of the group was a skinny middle-aged man. Xiangshan, it's you. Region Master Wandering Wind's expression changed. The Domain Lord of the Elephant Mountain region. It's the Domain Lord of the Elephant Mountain region. Someone from the Fu clan exclaimed. It seems like it's another Domain Lord. Lu Ming had an idea. The Region Lord Yufeng ruled this region while the Region Lord Xiangshan should be the overlord who ruled the other region. Of course it's me. Yufeng, do you want to keep the map of the ancient gods' mountain for yourself? Just hand it over. The Domain Lord of the Elephant Mountain region said coldly. You want to take the map of ancient gods' mountain from me by yourself? In your dreams. Protectorate Lord Yufeng waved the map of the ancient gods' mountain in his hand, and was about to put it away in his storage ring. At this moment, a beam of light shot towards Protectorate Lord Yufeng's palm at an extremely fast speed. The attack came from behind Protectorate Lord Yufeng. It was one of his subordinates. Protectorate Lord Yufeng had never expected that his subordinate would attack him. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. His palm was it and exploded. The ancient god map flew out. Great Guardian, you're looking for death. Die? Region Master Yufeng roared in anger. He circulated his divine power, and quickly repaired his broken palm. The person who had attacked him just now was the #1 expert under him. He was in existence at the 7th stage of True God Realm, and was his great protector. The great protector retreated quickly to prevent Region Master Yufeng from attacking. Ha ha ha, let me tell you, your Grand Guardian has long since secretly joined my side. The Domain Lord of the Elephant Mountain region laughed, and pounced towards the ancient god's mountain map. Don't even think about taking my map of ancient god's mountain. Kill him. Region Lord Yufeng roared and pounced towards the ancient god's mountain map. At the same time, a violent attack was continuously launched towards the Xiangshan region lord. The Domain Lord of the Elephant Mountain region was not afraid at all. He also launched an attack. The two of them collided continuously, and their forces spread in all directions. Fortunately, the map of Ancient God's Mountain was made of soul-touch gold, and was extremely hard. It rolled in the strong qi and was unharmed. The Elephant Mountain region master was also at the stage 8 of the True God realm. His fighting power was not any weaker than the Wandering Wind region master. The two of them exchanged blows continuously, but neither of them could gain the upper hand. For a moment, neither of them obtained the map of the Ancient God's Mountain. However, just as Yufeng and Xiangshan were fighting fiercely, a figure in the sky pounced at the Ancient God's Mountain map at a very fast speed and grabbed it. This was a member of the Wings race. He had a pair of green wings on his back, and when he flapped them, his speed was astonishing. Domain Lord Yuhan, it's you. Attack! Region Lord Yufeng and Region Lord Xiangshan shouted at the same time. They couldn't be bothered with fighting, and attacked the Wings raceman at the same time. Another Domain Lord had arrived. It was none other than the Domain Lord Yuhan. Originally, Domain Lord Yuhan was about to get the map of the Ancient God's Mountain. However, the combined attacks of Domain Lord Yufeng and Domain Lord Xiangshan were extremely powerful. He had no choice but to give up on the map of the Ancient God's Mountain, and defend himself with all his might. Boom. Boom. Domain Lord Yuhan was forced to retreat. Meanwhile, the Domain Lord Yufeng and the Domain Lord Xiangshan pounced toward the ancient god's mountain map and started fighting again. Domain Master Yuhan's face was gloomy. She also pounced forward. The three Domain Masters were engaged in a battle. Everyone wanted the map of the ancient god's mountain, but no one could get it. The Fu family people were all stunned. They didn't expect to attract three Domain Lords. The map of the ancient god's mountain was flying around in the air. A map of ancient god's mountain? Lu Ming muttered, his eyes filled with desire. Wasn't he here to find the ancient god's mountain? Therefore, he wanted the map of ancient god's mountain. Lu Ming took a step forward and approached the battlefield. Killing a Domain Lord coincidentally, when Lu Ming took a step forward, the map of the ancient god's mountain flew toward him like a bolt of lightning. Even Lu Ming himself was slightly stunned. He reached out and took the map of the ancient god's mountain. Boy, give me the map of ancient god's mountain. Hurry up and hand it over. The three Domain Lords, Yufeng, Xiangshan and Yuhan, roared and pounced toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming shifted his body and moved a few hundred miles away, avoiding the attack. I want this map of ancient god's mountain, Lu Ming said and put away the map of the ancient god's mountain. Everyone around them was stunned. They then looked at Lu Ming as if he was an idiot. Did he want the map of ancient god's mountain? Do you think the three region lords are just for show? Wasn't this courting death? Even the three Domain Lords were stunned for a moment, and then they all released cold killing intent. Kid, I've seen stupid people, but I've never seen someone as stupid as you. Since you're looking for death, I'll fulfill your wish. Die. Region Master Yufeng shouted coldly. He pounced at Lu Ming like a bolt of lightning. He's mine. Don't even think about seeing it from me. The Domain Lords of the Elephant Mountain Domain and the Yuhan Domain pounced on Lu Ming, trying to kill him and take his storage ring. You really think I'm a soft persimmon? Lu Ming sneered and a long spear appeared in his hand. At the same time, Lu Ming activated the tripled combat power of the battle formula. Break the sky, break. Lu Ming shouted. The divine energy in his body circulated at full force, and he cast the first move of the three apocalyptic strikes, sky-piercing. The three spear lights carried a terrifying power as they pierced towards the Domain Lord Yufeng, the Domain Lord Xiangshan, and the Domain Lord Yuhan. Boom, boom, boom. After three consecutive explosions, the expressions of Region Master Yufeng and the other two changed drastically. Their bodies trembled, and they couldn't help but retreat. Lu Ming's figure swayed and he took a few steps back. What? At the scene, everyone was dumbfounded. Lu Ming had blocked the attacks of the three zone leaders, and even forced them to retreat. How could Lu Ming have such strong combat abilities? Previously, some people felt that Lu Ming was foolish. Now they realized that they were the foolish ones. Amazing, so amazing. The head of the Fu family and the others were also shocked. And at this brat. Region Master Yufeng and the other two couldn't hide the shock in their eyes. This kid is tricky. Why don't the three of us work together and get rid of him first? Then we can get the map of ancient god's mountain. Region Master Wandering Wind transmitted a message to the other two Region Masters. Alright, I agree. Domain Lord Xiangshan and Domain Lord Yuhan nodded their heads, agreeing to join forces. From the fight just now, they knew that they were not Lu Ming's match if they were alone. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Zone Master Yufeng and the other two moved. They charged at Lu Ming like a pair of horns. Come on, Lu Ming muttered. The long spear vibrated and swept out. The divine power that Zone Master Yufeng and the other two controlled was just ordinary divine power. Although they had the cultivation of 8th tier true god, Lu Ming was not afraid at all. Boom. The thick spear light was like a mountain, bombarding the three territory lords. The three domain lords all used their ultimate moves and the two sides fought intensely. Boom. 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 The sky continued to explode. And in the blink of an eye, both sides had exchanged hundreds of blows. Nice, I'll try out my new move. 3 apocalyptic strikes, moon cutting. Lu Ming's eyes glowed. The divine power in his body surged wildly and surged into the long spear. At the same time, Lu Ming cast the ice chains. A few chains swept toward the domain lord of the Elephant Mountain region and the domain lord of the Yuhan region. Lu Ming himself cast the second move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, moon cutting. When the 3 apocalyptic strikes reached the 4th level, he could already use the second move, moon cutting. The power of this move was even stronger than S.P.A.C. piercing. Of course, the amount of divine power it consumed was even more shocking. However, Lu Ming had the measure formula. He did not care about the consumption of divine power. Whoosh! A ray of spear light, like a crescent moon, attacked Protectorate Lord Yufeng. This is Protectorate Master Yufeng's pupils contracted rapidly. He could sense how terrifying Lu Ming's move was. He roared and exploded with all his strength, trying to block this move. Boom! Poochie! 2 strange sounds were heard. Then Lu Ming's figure dashed past while Zone Master Yufeng's body stiffened in the air. His face was filled with horror. Then his body was torn apart, and his soul was destroyed. At the sight of this scene, the domain lords of the Elephant Mountain region and the Yuhan region felt a chill run from their feet to their heads. They were almost scared to death. They retreated frantically to keep a distance from Lu Ming. The zone leader is dead. The zone leader is dead. Zone leader Yufeng's subordinates were immediately thrown into chaos. They also retreated frantically, distancing themselves from Lu Ming. Did I let you go? Stop right there. Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the domain lord of the Elephant Mountain region and the domain lord of the Yuhan region. Domain Lord Xiangshan and Domain Lord Yuhan were both shocked. They didn't dare to stay any longer and immediately turned to run. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he cast the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique. Like a Kuan Peng, he rushed toward the 2 of them and overtook them in a few moments, blocking their path. I told you to stop, did you not hear me? Lu Ming said coldly. Young hero, I don't want the ancient god's mountain map anymore. Take it all you want. The region lord of the Elephant Mountain region said hurriedly, his body covered in cold sweat. If Lu Ming could kill Zone Master Yufeng with 1 shot, he could also kill him with 1 shot. It would be strange if he was not afraid. Yes. I don't want it either. Young hero, please take it. Domain Lord Yuhan said hurriedly. The map of the ancient god's mountain is mine. Don't leave just yet. I might need you for something else. Lu Ming said coldly. As expected, Domain Lord Xiangshan and Domain Lord Yuhan didn't dare to move. Then Lu Ming took out the map of the ancient god's mountain and opened it. There were indeed paths leading to a mysterious place, the ancient god's mountain. I need you to follow me and find the ancient god's mountain through the map, Lu Ming said. Lu Ming was unfamiliar with the ancient god's star. Even if he had a map, it would be very troublesome to find it. It would be better to borrow the power of the domain lord of the Elephant Mountain region and the others to find the ancient god's mountain faster. As for bringing the domain lord Xiangshan and the others along, Lu Ming did not mind. He only wanted to obtain some ancient god flowers on this trip. He did not care about Xiangshan and the others. The eyes of the domain lord of the Elephant Mountain domain and the domain lord of the Yuhan domain lit up. They did not expect such a good thing to happen. Lu Ming wanted them to search for the ancient god's mountain together. Did it mean that they could enter it as well? At the thought of this, their eyes burned with Pa-s-shaun. Don't worry, we'll definitely find it as soon as possible. The domain lord and domain lord Xiangshan nodded their heads. Let's go, Lu Ming said. He left the place with Xiangshan and the rest, not staying at the Fu clan. With the death of region lord Yufeng, the Fu clan's crisis would be resolved. Luck, our Fu clan is really lucky this time. That's right. I met young hero Lu Ming. God has blessed my Fu family. Young hero Lu Ming is the Fu family's greatest benefactor. We must make him into a god statue and worship him every day. Looking in the direction that Lu Ming had left, the Fu family members were extremely grateful. Chapter 2767 Minimaps. Lu Ming could not be bothered to worry about what the Fu clan was thinking. In the following days, the domain lord of the Elephant Mountain region and the domain lord of the Yuhan region sent out a large number of people to search for the ancient god's mountain according to the map. After half a month of research, They had finally determined the exact location. Then Lu Ming, the domain lord of the Elephant Mountain region, and the domain lord of the Yuhan region led a group of experts and rushed towards their destination. They didn't notice that far behind them, there was a figure following them. This person was Le Zhong. According to the map, the Ancient Gods Mountain was located in the extreme north of the Ancient God Star, on a deserted island in the sea of the far north. When they arrived at the deserted island, they were stunned. This was because this deserted island was completely desolate. There was no Ancient Gods Mountain. Most importantly, there were already many people gathered here. They stood around the deserted island looking for something. Region Lord Guanhao. Region Lord Qian. What are you doing here? The Elephant Mountain Region Lord widened his eyes and exclaimed. Because here, he saw many domain lords, and he recognized some of them. Xiangshan, you're here too. It seems that you've also obtained a map of Ancient Gods Mountain. A burly man chuckled. He was the city lord of the Thousand Region. What do you mean? Did you also get the map of Ancient Gods Mountain? The domain lord of the Elephant Mountain region said. Not bad. A scroll appeared in the hands of the city lord of the Thousand Region. It was the same as the one that Lu Ming and the others had. This, domain lord Xiangshan, domain lord Yuhan, and the others were dumbfounded. Haha, are you surprised? I thought the same as you. I thought there was only one map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. Now I know there are many. More than half of the domain lords are here. I'm afraid the number of people will increase. The city lord laughed. Lu Ming, the domain lord of the Elephant Mountain region, and the others were speechless. After so long, there were actually many maps of the Ancient Gods Mountain. Did you find the Ancient Gods Mountain? The domain lord asked again. This was what they were most concerned about. No, this place is a deserted island. Birds don't even s-h-it, and there's not even a single feather. The city lord said. Lu Ming's face darkened slightly. Nothing? Wouldn't that be a wasted trip? However, it was impossible to give up just like that. Immediately, they also began to search the deserted island carefully to see if there were any clues. As expected, as time went by, more people came from all directions of the deserted island. They were all domain masters who had come with the map of Ancient Gods Mountain. Strange, it seems like all these maps appeared at the same time. Otherwise, how could there be so many people gathering here at the same time? Lu Ming frowned and pondered. He had a feeling that everything was man-made. He was not the only one with questions. The others had questions as well. However, the temptation of the Ancient Gods Mountain was too great. No one left. Le Zhong had already blended into the crowd on the deserted island. There were at least tens of thousands of people on the island, so no one would notice him. As the days passed, more and more people arrived on the island. According to Domain Lord Xiangshan, most of the domain lords of the Ancient God Star had come. They had also brought a large number of experts. That's impossible. The map of Ancient Gods Mountain was made of point soul gold. Point soul gold is rare and precious. Who would spend so much money to play such a prank? Someone said. Indeed, no one would spend so much money to play tricks on them because it was meaningless. The only explanation was that it was time for the Ancient Gods Mountain to be born. That was why the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain had appeared all over the Ancient God Star in such a short time. There are so many maps of the Ancient Gods Mountain. Maybe it is meaningful. Why don't we take out everyone's maps and see if there is anything strange? Someone suggested. All right, I agree. I also agree. Many people nodded in agreement. Then those who had a map of the Ancient Gods Mountain all took out their maps. Lu Ming took it out as well. There were at least hundreds of maps of the Ancient Gods Mountain. As soon as these maps were taken out, they resonated with each other, and the maps became shiny. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. Then the maps flew out in a certain direction of the deserted island and stopped at a place. The hundreds of maps formed a strange trajectory and spun rapidly in the air. Runes suddenly appeared in the sky like a spider web. There's a reaction. Many people were ecstatic. If there was a reaction, it meant that the map was real. More and more runes appeared in the void. In the end, the void began to spin, forming a pitch-black vortex. But then, the vortex slowly became clear. and the scenery behind the vortex could be seen. It was a divine mountain that was incomparably huge, towering into the sky. The ancient god's mountain. Many people's eyes were filled with ecstasy. They had finally found ancient god's mountain. In the distant past, the descendants of the ancient gods had lived there. Legend had it that there were countless treasures inside. Lu Ming's eyes lit up slightly. There was an ancient god flower on ancient god's mountain. If he could get the flower, his divine body would be enhanced, and he would be able to cultivate the battle symbol art. Let's go. Someone couldn't take it anymore and rushed into the whirlpool. In a flash, he entered the whirlpool and appeared on the other side. I'm fine. Hurry, charge. Charge. Seeing that the people in front of them were fine, most of them couldn't help but rush towards the whirlpool, afraid that they would be one step slower, and the treasure would be taken away. The domain lords of the Elephant Mountain region and the Yuhan region did not care about Lu Ming anymore, and rushed into the vortex. Lu Ming mixed in with the crowd and rushed into the ancient god's mountain. Hee, I didn't expect to encounter the legendary ancient god's mountain when I came to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming is my lucky star. He laughed coldly and followed them into the vortex. Lu Ming dashed into the vortex and appeared on a huge rock. This is... Lu Ming looked ahead and realized that they had come to the middle of a huge valley. This valley was very large, with a width of more than 1,000 miles, and on both sides were cliffs that reached into the clouds. They had tens of thousands of people entering this place. Buzz. And NBSB whoosh. Many people had already rushed into the depths of the valley. Lu Ming sized up his surroundings and rushed into the depths of the valley. Boom. Suddenly, there was a violent explosion in front of them. A group of people were fighting fiercely. The ancient god flower is mine. Get lost. You're the one who should get lost. The angry roars made Lu Ming's heart skip a beat. The ancient god flower appeared. Lu Ming hurriedly rushed over. Indeed, he saw a dark red flower growing between a crack in the stone. The flower was full and glistening, emitting a strong energy fluctuation. It really was an ancient god flower. It was exactly the same as what was recorded in the books. With a miserable cry, a sixth-stage true god expert was killed, and fresh blood flowed all over the ground. In the battle, there were a few domain lord-level characters. Existences at the sixth stage of true god realm were naturally not enough. The others looked around and did not fight for it. An ancient god flower was not worth it. Even more people rushed into the depths of the valley. Perhaps there were more ancient god flowers in the valley. Lu Ming took a look, but did not make a move. An ancient god flower had limited uses, so there was no need to reveal their true strength in advance. Lu Ming moved his body and headed deep into the valley. As expected, more and more ancient god flowers appeared in the depths of the valley. Every time an ancient god flower appeared, it would cause a huge battle. Many people would fight for it. Although the cultivation of divine power was the main focus of the primal universe, the strength of the divine body was also very important. Some secret skills had requirements for the strength of the divine body. Furthermore, the stronger the divine body, the stronger the life force. Treasures that could improve the divine body were all very precious, so the compet. 1. Tian was naturally intense. However, Lu Ming did not make a move. He increased his speed and rushed into the depths of the valley. Kid, be careful. Someone is trying to kill you. At this moment, a voice came from Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. Someone wants to kill me? Lu Ming did not freeze for a moment. He was on guard. Wait, this sound. All of a sudden, Lu Ming stopped in his tracks, his face filled with shock. That was because the voice that had just sounded in his sea of consciousness was very unfamiliar. It was not the voice of the measure formula or the battle formula, but another voice. However, in his sea of consciousness, besides the quant. 1. Tai formula and the battle formula, was there anything else? Who is it? Who is in my sea of consciousness? Lu Ming shouted with his mental energy. Kid, there's something in your painting. This time, it was the sound of the quant. 1. Tai formula. A painting? Lu Ming immediately thought of Jingyu's portrait. However, the remnant mark that Jingyu had left behind had already disappeared. The portrait on it had also disappeared. Could there be something else in the portrait? Kid, what's there to be surprised about? Ever since you obtained Jingyu's portrait, I've been around. I've been observing you all this time, but you just didn't notice me. The unfamiliar voice from before rang out once more, and as expected, it came from the portrait of Jingyu. Then Lu Ming was surprised to see an arm stretching out from the portrait. However, this arm was not made of flesh and blood. It was a piece of bone that was black in color, as if it was made of black jade. Then Lu Ming saw a skeleton crawl out of Jingyu's portrait. It was a skeleton that was as black as jade. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. There was actually a skeleton hidden within the startled feather painting. What was going on? Who was this skeleton? Could it be Jingyu himself? In an instant, dozens of thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Brat, don't be too surprised. I've told you that someone wants to kill you. They're already close. If you want to die, then continue to be in a daze. The skeleton continued. Lu Ming immediately collected his thoughts. As expected, he felt waves of cold aura spreading towards him. At the same time, a dark-skinned elder rapidly approached Lu Ming, and a sword light stabbed at the back of Lu Ming's heart. Fast, accurate, and ruthless. It was done in one go, a one-hit kill. Furthermore, it was shockingly powerful. If not for the black skeleton's warning, Lu Ming would have been in danger. However, after the black skeleton's reminder, Lu Ming had already reacted in advance. In an instant, Lu Ming had already cast the 9-layered crimson gold armor. A layer of crimson gold armor covered his entire body. At the same time, Lu Ming quickly turned around and thrust his spear, aiming at the sword gleam. Buzz. The long spear and the sword light clashed, creating an ear-piercing collision sound, and the force spread in all directions. However, the power of the sword light was shockingly strong. The terrifying sword chi made the long spear vibrate continuously. Then it said through the long spear and headed for Lu Ming. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming's golden red armor shook violently and was torn apart. Lu Ming's body was sent flying backward, smashing into a 100-meter-tall boulder. His body was covered with sword wounds and blood was flowing out. Fortunately, the sword gleam said through the spear and the scarlet gold armor one after another. Its power was no longer strong, and Lu Ming only suffered some superficial injuries. The dark-skinned elder was stunned that he did not manage to kill Lu Ming with one strike. He seemed to be very surprised. Who are you? Why do you want to kill me? Lu Ming stared at the dark-skinned elder and shouted coldly. This old man's strength was very terrifying. His cultivation was at peak stage 9 true god, and he controlled king-grade divine power. With Lu Ming's current abilities, if he were to go all out, he could fight with an ordinary 9th stage true god. However, if he were to encounter a peak 9th stage true god, he would most likely be no match for him. Moreover, the other party had also mastered king-grade divine power, and his abilities were far above his. Most importantly, Lu Ming did not know this old man. Kill! The dark-skinned elder did not say anything. He shouted coldly and pounced at Lu Ming like lightning. Before he even arrived, streaks of terrifying sword light were already pouring down on Lu Ming. Ice chains. Lu Ming's mind flickered and 8 ice chains flew out like 8 long dragons, entangling the swarthy elder. Buzz. And NBSB whoosh. His opponent's sword light kept striking the ice chains, causing sparks to fly. The ice chains kept shaking, and sword marks appeared on them. However, they still managed to block his attack. At the same time, a terrifying chill spread towards the dark-skinned elder, causing him to shiver. Secret skill, ice shackles. This kid has actually cultivated the ice shackles. The dark-skinned elder was shocked. Then he growled and an even more terrifying divine power burst out from his body. Sword light burst forth continuously, shaking off the ice chains that were binding him and heading toward Lu Ming. The 3 apocalyptic strikes moon cutting, die. Lu Ming bellowed and used his strongest move. A crescent-shaped attack was aimed at the swarthy elder. Boom. The two of them collided once again, and a shocking force erupted between them. Retreat, quickly retreat. On the side, the others were shocked and retreated. A few of the weaker ones were killed by the energy from the collision. What terrifying strength. Who are these two? They're even stronger than many domain lords. Many people were shocked. Perhaps only the most terrifying domain lords on the ancient god star could match such a fighting power. Brat die! The dark-skinned elder roared as divine power poured into his body. The sword light expanded and Lu Ming's body trembled. He was sent flying backward and spat out a mouthful of blood. Now is the time. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and another ice chain flew out from his body. This was the last ice chain, and it was also the strongest one. It was the one that had been refined into a mysterious liquid. The dark-skinned elder clearly did not expect Lu Ming to have such a move. He was slightly shocked. At the same time, he changed the stance of his sword and slashed at the ninth ice chain. However, when his combat sword struck the ninth ice chain, his expression changed drastically. That was because he felt an extremely terrifying chill coming toward him. It was as if it was going to freeze his blood, and even his divine power. Whoosh! The other ice chains trembled and wrapped around the dark-skinned old man, trying to trap him to death. This brat, what a shocking technique! The dark-skinned elder was shocked. He no longer cared about hiding his ident. One-tie. At this moment he exploded with all his strength. Boom! His body erupted like a volcano. His divine power surged and attacked the coldness on his body. At the same time, sword lights burst out and swept away the ice chains. However, even if he used all his strength, it was difficult for him to maintain his disguise. His body and muscles began to change, revealing his original appearance. Le Zhong! Lu Ming roared, his murderous intent cold. That's right. This dark-skinned elder was Le Zhong. He had disguised himself, and seemed to have cultivated some secret technique. Even his aura was hidden. Lu Ming did not recognize him at all. Lu Ming, you've really surprised me. You've actually forced me to reveal my true form. However, you still have to die. Lu shouted coldly, his eyes extremely cold. I must kill Lu Ming today, he roared in his heart. Lu Ming was too terrifying. He was so young and his cultivation was only at the first stage of true god, but his combat strength was so terrifying that it was hard to imagine. He was only at the first stage of the true god realm, but under his continuous attacks, he was only injured and not dead. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he would find it hard to believe. If Lu Ming was given a period of time to grow, he would be more powerful. After some time, he was afraid that he would die in Lu Ming's hands. Therefore he had to kill Lu Ming. Kill! Le Zhong exploded with all his strength and charged at Lu Ming. Let's go! This time, Lu Ming turned around and left. He could not be bothered to fight with Le Zhong. With his current strength, he was indeed not Le Zhong's match. Even if he used all his means, he would still be no match for him. Since he was no match for him, it would be too stupid to continue fighting. This old fellow'll kill him later. Lu Ming thought to himself. As long as he got the ancient god flower, his divine body would transform, and he would be able to cultivate the battle character formula with 4 times his combat power. Then he only needed to break through one more stage to reach the second stage of true god. Lu Ming was confident that he could fight Le Zhong and even kill him. Lu Ming cast the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique and rushed into the depths of the valley. You want to leave? I will kill you no matter where you go today. He shouted coldly and chased after Lu Ming rapidly. The two of them, one chasing and the other escaping, continued to go deep into the valley. Of course, there were also others who had been rushing into the depths of the valley. And NBSB, however, ancient god flowers appeared from time to time along the way, and some people stopped to fight for them. After flying for a while, suddenly, a strong fragrance came from ahead. At the same time, there was an extremely dense energy fluctuation that permeated the air. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's figure could not help but stop. He widened his eyes and looked ahead in a daze. Brat, why aren't you running anymore? Le Zhong caught up with him quickly, but before he could finish his words, his figure stopped. His eyes were wide open as he looked in front of him in disbelief. It wasn't just the two of them. Some of the other people who had rushed here were also in the same state. He was dumbfounded and tongue-tied, but immediately after that he felt a deep sense of greed. That was because the front was filled with ancient god flowers. There was a flat piece of land in front of them. There were valleys in 8 directions on this piece of land. The valley that Lu Ming and the others were in was only one of the 8. The 8 valleys converged here. This place was filled with ancient god flowers. There was an uncountable number of ancient god flowers. It was like an ocean of ancient god flowers, swaying and mesmerizing. Gulu! Even Lu Ming could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. He had never expected there to be so many ancient god flowers here. 10,000 flowers? 20,000? In short, it was hard to count. Ha ha ha, I'm rich, I'm rich. With so many ancient god flowers, how strong can my god body be? The crowd finally reacted. Many of them rushed toward the ancient god flowers with red eyes. Ancient god flower. Le Zhong's eyes were filled with greed. He could not care less about killing Lu Ming, and pounced on the ancient god flower. His desire for the ancient god flower was stronger than his desire to kill Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming also rushed forward. His divine power condensed into a huge hand and grabbed an ancient god flower. However, he couldn't grab it. Runes began to appear at the flower's roots, forming a circle of light that protected the flower. There's a great formation protecting it. This ancient god flower is actually protected by a great formation. Lu Ming was shocked. He tried to grab another ancient god flower, but the result was the same. When Lu Ming grabbed it, runes emerged from the root of the ancient god flower, forming a circle of light that enveloped the ancient god flower. Damn. Enit, what's going on? I actually can't pick it. Damn. Enit, this ancient god flower is protected by a formation. 1535. The others also roared. They couldn't pick a flower, not a single one. All the ancient god flowers were protected by the formation, which made everyone's faces extremely gloomy. It was like a gold mountain in front of him, but he couldn't get it. Amazing, amazing. This is a huge array with all the ancient god flowers planted in the eye of the array. There are so many eyes of the array. What is the person who set up the array trying to do? In his sea of consciousness, the black skeleton sat on the painting and muttered to himself. He was looking at everything outside. They're all planted in the eye of the formation. The gaze from inside also focused. Lu Ming naturally heard the black skeleton's words. There was a huge wave in his heart. If that was the case, then this formation was incredible. How many formation eyes were there? The others all tried to pick other ancient god flowers, but without exception they all failed. No one was able to pick a single ancient god flower. At this moment, more and more people came from behind. When they saw the ocean of ancient god flowers, they were also shocked. Then they joined the group to pick the flowers. Naturally, no one was able to pick a single flower. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, a terrifying ear-piercing sound came from all directions. They were arrows that were like black lightning, shooting toward Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming was shocked. A long spear appeared and swept out continuously, deflecting a few arrows. And NBSB, but not everyone reacted so quickly. Screams rang out as many people were shot by arrows and died in the ancient god flower sea. Who is it? Someone shouted and looked in all directions. Then everyone was shocked. A large group of people had appeared on the cliffs of the valley. These people held large bows in their hands and stood on the cliff wall, surrounding them. Trespa! Sirs of ancient gods, mountain will die. On the northern cliff, there was a young man with a cold expression. He spoke coldly. You guys, are you a descendant of an ancient god? Someone exclaimed. The others were also shocked. Descendants of ancient gods? Didn't the descendants of the ancient gods disappear for countless years? It was said that the descendants of the ancient gods had been exterminated, leaving only the ancient gods mountain. Was that all fake? Could it be that the descendants of the ancient gods had been hiding in the ancient gods mountain all these years? Since the descendants of the ancient gods hadn't been destroyed, why hadn't they appeared after so many years? Many people's minds were filled with questions. However, the descendants of the ancient gods obviously wouldn't answer their questions. Kill. On the northern cliff, the young man waved his hand and gave the order. Instantly, the descendants of the ancient gods drew their bows and knocked their arrows. One after another, arrows whistled through the air and shot toward Lu Ming and the others. After all, the ancient god flower was protected by a formation, so they weren't afraid of hurting it. People were constantly shot by the arrows and died on the spot, blood flowing all over the ground. Many of these descendants of ancient gods had astonishing strength. Most of them were at the true god realm, and the arrows they shot out had astonishing power. Other than the domain lord level ones, no one else could block it 100%. I don't care if they're the descendants of the ancient gods. Charge forward and kill them. Someone shouted and rushed up the cliff, attacking the descendant of the ancient god. You overestimate yourself. Get down. Get lost. On the cliff wall, some burly figures appeared. Their muscles bulged like horned dragons winding around them, full of power. The strength of these people was very shocking. The moment they attacked, the sky shook violently. Those who charged towards the cliff were all jolted down. Even those at the domain lord level. Bang! Lu Ming stomped on the ground and dashed toward the eastern cliff like a long spear. Get down! A middle-aged man charged at Lu Ming and threw a few consecutive punches. The terrifying force of his punches crushed toward Lu Ming. Strong, shockingly strong. Although this middle-aged man was only in the true god realm, he had definitely reached the peak of stage 9 true god realm. His battle strength was not weaker than Lezhong's, and he might even be stronger. Lu Ming burst out with all his strength and swept his long spear horizontally. However, the fist force of the other party came crushing down. Lu Ming's body retreated rapidly as if he was being crushed by a mountain, and he fell down into the valley. What a powerful strength! Lu Ming felt numb all over. The qi and blood in his body were boiling, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. And MBSB he realized that his opponent's divine power was not too bad, but the strength of his divine body was astonishing. It was much stronger than other cultivators. When they worked together, their combat power would be very strong. A descendant of an ancient god. Lu Ming was certain that the other party was a descendant of an ancient god. According to the legends, when the primeval universe was first created, a group of ancient godly spirits were born naturally. These ancient godly spirits could be said to be the earliest life forms in the primeval universe. The earliest godly spirits were born with terrifying power. In particular, their divine bodies were freakishly strong. The earliest and most ancient gods were ancient gods. The descendants of the ancient gods on the ancient god star, as their name suggested, were said to be the descendants of an ancient god. Although their bloodline was extremely thin, their divine bodies were still stronger than ordinary people. For a moment, no one could rush out of this place. Behind them, there were still people rushing over. Soon, more than 10,000 people who had entered the ancient god's mountain had all gathered here. Almost everyone's here, so let's send them on their way. On the northern cliff, the young man said coldly. Then he raised his arm high and his voice resounded throughout the entire area. Activate the formation and kill all the intruders. Su Emo ordered. Activate the formation. Someone shouted. Buzz. And MBSB whoosh. After that, dense runes appeared on the cliff walls in all directions. The ancient god flowers' roots beneath their feet were also covered in runes. Countless runes interwove with each other, forming a large formation. The area was enveloped by a blood-red light shield. Lu Ming and the rest were all enveloped by this light shield. The descendants of the ancient gods were outside the light barrier. Not good. Many people's expressions changed drastically, and they had a bad feeling in their hearts. Retreat! Attack! Someone shouted. He no longer cared about the ancient god flower, and rushed toward the valley they had come from. All sorts of attacks were launched at the light shield. However, when these attacks landed on the light shield, they did not cause any ripples. The light shield did not move at all. Attack! Attack! More people joined in the attack, but it was of no use. Hee, these fools still want to escape. Once you enter this formation, you're destined to die here. The young man on the northern cliff laughed coldly. It's starting, said an old man next to the young man coldly. At this moment, some blood-red mist suddenly appeared within the formation's light barrier. Ah! Someone let out a blood-curdling scream as the blood-red mist enveloped him. His body began to corrode violently. His flesh and blood were melting rapidly, and in a few breaths, he had turned into a pool of liquid. The people who witnessed this scene were so frightened that their livers and guts trembled. Ah! Ah! But immediately, more screams were heard. More blood-red mist emerged from the ground. Some people were shrouded in the blood-red mist and followed in the footsteps of the previous person. DM, and it charge out. I don't want to die. And NBSB everyone roared and crazily attacked the light barrier. But it was to no avail. Within the light shield, the blood-red mist grew thicker and thicker. Chi-chi. Lu Ming was enveloped by a blood-red mist. He used all his divine power to resist it, but even if it was the ruler's divine power, there was a sizzling sound of corrosion. If this went on, he would not be able to resist for long. This mist was extremely terrifying. Even divine power would find it hard to resist. Those with strong cultivation and above stage 7 of true God could still resist for the time being. As for those with weak cultivation, they couldn't resist at all. Their protective divine power was corroded, and their bodies were corroded by the blood-red mist. They let out mournful cries, and then turned into a pool of blood-red liquid. In the beginning, it was those below stage 3 true God who couldn't withstand it. However, as the blood-red mist became thicker and thicker, slowly, those who were stage 4 true God and above also started to be unable to withstand it. Let me out, let me out. I don't want to die. Spare me. Many people screamed and began to beg for mercy. However, the descendants of the ancient gods had cold expressions and were unmoved. Chapter 2771 Bone Demon Time slowly passed, said, and the fog became thicker and thicker. It even started to block one's line of sight, and the power of the fog also became stronger and stronger. More and more people were melted into liquid. Strangely, the liquid quickly seeped into the ground and seemed to be absorbed by the ancient god flower. The flower became more and more beautiful. More and more people died. More than 10,000 of them had entered, but now, there were less than 5,000 left. People were dying every second. Chi-chi. Lu Ming's body was surrounded by blood-red mist. His divine power was constantly being corroded. Fortunately, Lu Ming had the measure formula and stored a large amount of divine power. He could always maintain his divine power at its peak. However, this was not a solution. No matter how much divine power he stored, there would be a moment when he would run out. What do we do? Lu Ming quickly thought of countermeasures. Amazing, he actually set up such a large array. The descendants of the ancient gods are very ambitious. The black skeleton spoke again. Senior, what did you see? Lu Ming asked hurriedly. Although this formation is profound, with this old man's knowledge, I can naturally see through it with one look. There's an ancient god flower planted in every eye of the formation. The black skeleton continued proudly. It's for something big. These ancient god flowers will fuse with the formation and absorb a large amount of flesh and blood to complete the formation. When that happens, the person who set up the formation will absorb everyone's ancient god flowers and condense the ancient god heart. What a vicious method. Could it be that we were able to come in because someone deliberately tricked us in? Lu Ming muttered. At this moment he thought of many things. Why did so many maps of Ancient God's Mountain appear on the Ancient God Star at the same time? It was obvious that someone had deliberately attracted all the experts on the Ancient God Star. Then he would lure them here, kill them, and let the Ancient God Flower absorb their blood and flesh. After being reminded by the black skeleton, Lu Ming suddenly figured out everything. The reason why they could enter Ancient God's Mountain was because someone had deliberately arranged it. The person who had arranged all this was the descendant of the ancient gods. Senior, what is the ancient god's heart? Lu Ming asked again. Let this old man tell you. These so-called descendants of the ancient gods actually have extremely thin bloodlines. They can't even be considered descendants of the ancient gods. Only those who have condensed the ancient god's heart can be considered true descendants of the ancient gods. With the ancient god's heart, one's divine body can keep getting stronger. Their fighting power is amazing. These people can't compare to them. The black skeleton explained. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. However, it's not that easy to condense the ancient god's heart. I'm afraid it's not enough to do so with just the flesh and blood of you people. The black skeleton said. If it's not enough, Then what's the point of luring us here? Lu Ming was puzzled. If my guess is correct, then the person who set this up must have sacrificed a large number of ancient god descendants in order to condense the ancient god heart. TSK, what a ruthless method. The black skeleton clicked its tongue, as if it was quite appreciative. As for Lu Ming, he was greatly shocked. And NBSB, he even needed to sacrifice a large number of ancient god descendants and slaughter his own race to help him. This kind of method was really vicious. These descendants of the ancient gods are probably still in the dark. They don't know that they don't have long to live. The black skeleton chuckled. Senior, how are we going to get out? If this continues, I won't be able to hold on for much longer. Lu Ming said. In just a short while, the blood-red mist here had become shockingly thick, and their vision was getting worse and worse. When they looked up, they could hardly see the figures on the cliff. More and more people died. The remaining people were all extremely frightened. Ding it. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Le Zhong roared in his heart, his face extremely ferocious. He had never expected that he would put himself in such a dangerous situation when he came to hunt down Lu Ming. Although his cultivation was at the peak of Stage 9 True God realm, and he could still resist for the time being, he would still die if time said. He was extremely frightened. The others were the same. Don't worry, I've already saved you several times. How can I just watch you die here? In the future, I still have things I need you to do. The black skeleton said. How many times have you saved me? Lu Ming was puzzled. Didn't he just remind him before that Le Zhong wanted to kill him? That was only once. Nonsense. When you were surrounded by the demonic bloodthirsty tree in the forest, who saved you? That fellow, Jingyu, only has a wisp of his imprint left. How could he have the power to save you? The black skeleton berated. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. Back then, when he had just joined the Kongxian sect, he had gone to the forest with Xian Yinqing, Xian Yinjuan, and a few others to train. They had encountered a group of terrifying bloodthirsty demon trees in an abyss, and they were completely no match for them. At that time, Jingye's portrait had flown out and scared the bloodthirsty demonic tree away. It turned out that the black skeleton was making a move. Wait a minute, if he referred to Jingyu as that fellow, then he's not Jingyu. Lu Ming's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Previously, he had guessed that the black skeleton was Jingye's transformation. Junior, thanks Senior for saving me. May I know how to address Senior? Lu Ming said. You can just call me Bone Devil. The black skeleton said indifferently. Senior Bone Demon, how can I escape? Lu Ming asked. The mist from this formation is powerful, but it'll transfer some of my power to you. Enough to block the mist from the outside. However, let me tell you, I don't have much power left, so don't expect me to help you if you encounter danger in the future. Bone warned. Many thanks, Senior. Lu Ming immediately expressed his gratitude. Let's talk about it after we get through the current difficulties. It's not too late to talk about the future. At this moment, the bone demon's body glowed and a jet-black energy gushed into Lu Ming's body. A layer of black light immediately emerged on the surface of Lu Ming's body, completely blocking the blood-red mist outside and isolating him from the world. Lu Ming's pressure was greatly reduced and he was relieved. However, this scene was seen by Le Zhong, who was not far away. This kid can actually completely isolate the blood-red mist. Treasure, this kid must have a treasure on him. I'm going to take it. Lu Xian roared in his heart, his eyes revealing a greedy look. He thought that Lu Ming had some kind of treasure on him that could resist the blood-colored mist outside. If he could seize it, he might be able to live. He rushed toward Lu Ming rapidly. This old fellow. Lu Ming naturally noticed Le Zhong as well. A strong murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Kid, hand over your treasures. He lowered his voice in fear of being heard by others and competing with him. Hand over your sister. Die. Lu Ming shouted and attacked with all his might. All looking for death, Lu Ming cast the second move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, Cutting Moon, and attacked Le Zhong with all his might. Le Zhong also slashed out a sword light, which collided with Lu Ming. Boom. The two of them collided. However, this time, It was Le Zhong who retreated instead of Lu Ming. Le Zhong's body retreated and trembled. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. You. How can you use your full power? Le Zhong roared in shock. In such an environment, he had to divert most of his power to resist the blood-red mist outside. So his combat power was naturally greatly reduced. He had thought that even if Lu Ming had a treasure to resist the blood-colored mist, it would consume a large amount of divine power to activate it, and his own strength would be weakened. He had thought that it would not be a problem to take Lu Ming down. However, in the collision just now, Lu Ming was in his peak state. His combat strength was at its peak. Old man, go to HLL. Lu Ming said coldly and charged towards Le Zhong. This time, he used the same move, Moon Slash. At the same time, the 9 ice chains also wrapped around Le Zhong. I don't believe it. He bellowed in the music and slashed a sword light at Lu Ming. However, after their attacks collided, Le Zhong's sword light collapsed instantly. He was sent flying by Lu Ming and coughed up a large amount of blood. The most terrifying thing was that his protective divine energy was almost shattered by Lu Ming. The blood-colored mist took advantage of the situation and broke through Le Zhong's defense, touching his body. Chi-chi. White smoke rose from Le Zhong's body. A large piece of flesh was corroded. Le Zhong was so scared that he turned around and ran. He was afraid. He no longer had the thought of killing Lu Ming. He only wanted to run away as soon as possible and get as far away from Lu Ming as possible. However, how could Lu Ming let him escape? The 9 ice chains wrapped around Le Zhong. Although Le Zhong resisted with all his might, he had to fight against the blood-colored mist and could not use much strength. He was bound by the chains and the terrifying chill was about to freeze him. Dean, in it, Lu Ming. Even if I die, I won't let you have an easy time. Men, this kid has a treasure that can block the blood-colored mist's attack. As long as we get this treasure, we won't die. Men, he roared in joy, his voice spreading far and wide. Instantly, many people heard it. What? Someone is controlling a treasure that can resist the blood-red mist. I must get it. This treasure is mine. Anyone who blocks me will die. Everyone was in a frenzy and they charged toward Lu Ming and the rest. The rest of the people understood that if this continued, they would die sooner or later. However, if they had a treasure that could resist the blood-colored mist, they would be able to survive. It would be strange if they didn't go crazy. You think you can kill me with this method? Since you're so stupid, I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming's cold voice was heard and he thrust his spear at Le Zhong. Le Zhong was bound by the ice chains and couldn't dodge at all. He was pierced by the spear and died. He waved his hand and kept Le Zhong's storage ring. At that moment, the others rushed over. They realized that there was a layer of black light on Lu Ming's body that could separate the blood-colored mist. Their eyes turned red instantly. It can really block out the blood-colored mist. Kid, hand over your treasure. Everyone had a greedy look on their faces as they charged toward Lu Ming. Since you're looking for death, I'll send you on your way in advance. Lu Ming said coldly. The 9 ice chains flew out as Lu Ming cast the 3 apocalyptic strikes. After a single shot, 2 experts were killed. Those who were still alive were undoubtedly experts. Almost all of them were Domain Lord level characters. However, these people were not Lu Ming's match even at their peak. Now that they had to divert a large portion of their energy to fight against the blood-colored mist, they were no match for Lu Ming. They were completely crushed. Kill. Lu Ming's figure moved unhindered. The spear's gleam surged and the experts were killed one by one. At the same time, the 9 ice chains danced and wrapped around the experts, sealing them in ice. A Ma. S-Saker. It was a complete Ma. S-Saker. There had been more than 100 people who had charged at Lu Ming earlier. However, Lu Ming had killed them all in an instant. Not a single one was left. The storage rings of these people had also entered Lu Ming's pocket. These people were all region masters, and they were definitely wealthy. Lu Ming had made a fortune. On the cliff, the descendants of the ancient gods were waiting quietly. At this moment, the fog was already very thick, and they couldn't see what was happening below. However, they still heard the sound just now. There's a treasure that can withstand the attack of the formation? Some people's gazes moved. Impossible. Even a high-quality divine artifact can't stop it. At most, it can buy us some time. If we're still going to die after a while, well, just wait quietly. The young man on the northern side of the cliff sneered. At the bottom of the cliff, Lu Ming had killed more than 100 masters. In an instant, he was the only one left in the area. The place was deathly silent. He realized that the ancient god flowers underground had become more beautiful. Under the corrosion of the blood-colored mist, the blood and flesh of the experts who were killed by Lu Ming turned into liquid and were absorbed by the earth. What a vicious evil formation. Senior Bone Demon, this fog is blocked, but how do I get out? Lu Ming asked again. It's easy to get out. You can do it on your own. Bone said. By myself. Lu Ming was puzzled. The light shield formed by the formation was extremely strong. So many experts had attacked it together, but they could not break it at all. How could he break it? Right. You have to rely on yourself. One of the chains of ice that you train in is shockingly powerful. It's filled with a terrifyingly cold aura that's enough to break through this formation's barrier of light. Bone said. The frozen shackles. Could it be the 9th frozen shackle? Lu Ming had an idea and decided to give it a try. Lu Ming's eyes darted around for a while before he headed north. When he arrived at the cliff in the north, he restrained his aura and flew upwards. And NBSB the youth and the other ancient god descendants on the cliff didn't notice at all. When Lu Ming was close to the cliff, he suddenly cast the ice chain. The 9th ice chain was like a white lightning bolt, rushing toward the light shield. When the 9th ice chain touched the light shield, to Lu Ming's surprise, the light shield was pierced through. The ice chains quickly wrapped around the young man. It was easy to tell that the young man had a high status among the descendants of the ancient gods. As long as they took the young man as a hostage, Lu Ming might be able to escape and get many ancient god flowers. The descendants of the ancient gods were all very relaxed. They didn't think that anyone would be able to break out of the array. When they realized that the ice chains were going to wrap around the youth, it was already too late. Be careful. Someone shouted to remind him and rushed towards the ice chains. However, it was all over. The ice chains wrapped around the young man and pulled him into the formation. Ruthless pulling the young man into the formation, Lu Ming's body emitted a layer of black light that enveloped the young man and blocked the blood-colored mist outside. He still wanted to take the young man as a hostage, so he naturally couldn't let him die. Ah! The young man screamed in fear. When he realized that nothing had happened, he became bold and shouted, "Brat, quickly let me go, quickly let me go. Let you go. Tell your people to remove the formation and let me go. Also, give me 100 ancient god flowers, no 500 ancient god flowers." Lu Ming said coldly, 500 ancient god flowers? Impossible. The young man roared. What do you guys say? Do you want him to die, or hand over the ancient god flower, and let me go? Lu Ming could not be bothered with the young man. Instead, he looked at the descendants of the ancient gods on the cliff. The descendants of the ancient gods all had ugly expressions. Kid, do you know who this person is? He's the son of the Grand Elder, a descendant of an ancient god. If anything happens to him, you'll have to die as well. An old man said coldly, I don't care whose son he is. If he doesn't hand over the ancient god flower, we'll throw him out and let him die in this formation. Lu Ming said coldly. He didn't care whose son this young man was. The higher his status was, the better. That way, he could take the ancient god flower and leave. You, and NBSB the old man and the other ancient god descendants all had unsightly expressions. These people looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Save me, save me. The young man roared. We have to report this to the Grand Elder or the Patriarch before we can make a decision. The old man said. There's no need to report. At this moment, a cold voice was heard. Then a tall old man with white hair and beard walked over. Seeing the old man, the young man was overjoyed and shouted, Father, Father, save me. We pay our respects to First Elder. And NBSB the other ancient god descendants all saluted. It turned out that this man was the great elder of the ancient god clan. This person's cultivation is very high. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat when he saw the first elder of the ancient god. The pressure he felt from this man was shocking. It made Lu Ming feel as if he was facing the outer sect elders of the Kongxian sect. After all, the outer sect elders of the Kongxian sect were all at the sky god realm. This person was very likely to be a heavenly god existence. The first elder of the ancient god clan looked gloomy. He looked at Lu Ming and said, "Quickly release my son, and I'll let you go if I agree." Hearing this, the young man was ecstatic. "Give me the 500 ancient god flowers. Then remove the formation and let me leave." "I'll let her go then," Lu Ming said. "Let him go first." The head elder of the ancient god clan shouted coldly, "Do you think it's possible to let him go first?" Lu Ming sneered. He did not trust the other party. "Kid, don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit." The first elder of the ancient god clan looked extremely gloomy and was filled with killing intent. "Hand over the ancient god flower, remove the formation and let me go. I'll naturally let you go. The conditions are simple," Lu Ming said coldly. The first elder's expression changed. In the end he said determinedly, "The secret of this place must not be leaked out. Where you can go in peace. I will avenge you." "What?" Upon hearing this, Lu Ming was shocked. The other party didn't care about the life and death of the young man, not even his own son. "No, no, father, no, save me," the young man roared madly. "Continue to activate the formation. Also send out experts to block this man's path of retreat and prevent him from rushing out. This time, everyone who came in must die. Not a single one can be left alive." The grand elder of the ancient god clan gave the order. His eyes were extremely cold. "Yes." The other ancient god descendants dashed toward the valley where Lu Ming and the others came from to prevent Lu Ming from escaping. "Am in it," Lu Ming roared in his heart. His eyes were cold as he stared at the first elder of the ancient god. "If you don't even care about your own son, then I'll fulfill your wish." With a single thought, the ice chains wrapped around the young man and sent him into the blood-colored mist. "Chi-chi." Immediately, the sound of corrosion came from the young man's body, and he screamed in pain. "Where, don't worry. I'll avenge you. I'll burn this kid's bones and scatter his ashes. I'll make him die a miserable death." The grand elder's voice was extremely cold. This old fellow. Could it be that he's the one who set up this great formation? Lu Ming could not help but think. He could not help but suspect that it was the great elder of the ancient god clan who had set up this formation to condense the heart of the ancient god himself. That was why he did not care about his own son. "You don't even care about your own son. I'll fulfill your wish then." Lu Ming threw the young man into the valley. The young man screamed and soon lost his breath. The first elder of the ancient god was full of murderous intent. If it were not for the fact that he was extremely wary of the blood-colored mist in the formation, he would have charged in and killed Lu Ming with a single slap. "Activate the formation at full power. Let's see how long he can last," the grand elder of the ancient god clan ordered. Buzz. Instantly, the runes in the surroundings shone with an even more dazzling light, and the blood-colored mist in the array became even thicker. Lu Ming did not stop. In a flash, he disappeared into the fog and rushed toward the canyon that he had come from. However, when he arrived, he found that the outside of the formation was surrounded by experts of the ancient god descendants. "What a miscalculation," Lu Ming muttered. This time, he had really miscalculated. He had not expected the first elder of the ancient god clan to be so cruel that he would not even care about the life and death of his own son. Initially, he had planned to take the young man as a hostage and exchange him for some ancient god flowers before leaving. Otherwise, Lu Ming might have succeeded if he had sneaked out of the valley from the beginning. But now it was too late. The other side was surrounded by a large number of experts. If he were to attack from here, he would definitely die. "I can only change my direction." Lu Ming dodged into the mist again and rushed toward another valley. There were a total of 8 valleys here, and no one knew where the other 7 led to. Lu Ming randomly picked one. When he was close to the array, the 9th ice chain flew out and spun continuously with the head of the chain as the core. Bang! The light shield of the formation was immediately broken, and Lu Ming rushed out. Naturally, there were descendants of ancient gods guarding this place. Lu Ming was discovered the moment he rushed out. This brat is here, stop him. Kill. The descendants of the ancient gods charged toward Lu Ming. However, there were not many people here because most of them had gone to the valley that Lu Ming and the rest had entered from. There were only 7 or 8 people here. The 3 apocalyptic strikes, moon cutting. Lu Ming used all his strength to cast the 3 apocalyptic strikes. A crescent-shaped attack was launched. Boom. Boom. Among these 7 to 8 descendants of ancient gods, the strongest was only at the 8th stage true god realm. Lu Ming broke through their defense in an instant and rushed out. The third lady of the ancient god, as soon as Lu Ming broke out of the encirclement, he ran wildly into the depths of the valley. This kid is here. Don't let him run away. Chase him. The descendant of the ancient god roared and chased after Lu Ming. Chase him, we must catch this brat. This old man will burn his bones and scatter his ashes. The first elder of the ancient god roared and dashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming cast the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique and flew at full speed. He was extremely fast and soon he was out of the valley. Behind this valley was a boundless region of hills and mountains. In some places, one could even see palaces and houses. It was obvious that this was the residence of the descendants of the ancient gods, where the real ancient gods mountain was. But now Lu Ming could not care about that. He randomly chose a direction and rushed over. Behind him, the descendant of the ancient god was in hot pursuit. Lu Ming pushed the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique to its limits. His speed was astonishing, and he leaped across the void like a Kuan Peng. Not long after, a mountain peak appeared in front of Lu Ming. The environment on the mountain peak was very good. There was a small lake and a house was built beside the lake. At that moment, Lu Ming saw a young lady by the lake cultivating her swordsmanship. The sword technique was agile, like a silver snake dancing in the air. One could tell at a glance that it was extraordinary. And MBSB, but at this moment, the ancient god descendants in pursuit had a major change in expression. Not good, the third young lattice residence is in front. A descendant of an ancient god exclaimed. Idiot, don't shout. Another ancient god descendant shouted in anger. What if Lu Ming heard her shouting so loudly? Unfortunately, it was too late. Lu Ming had already heard the person scream. Third miss. He seems to be a big shot. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold, and he rushed toward the young woman. The young woman had already seen Lu Ming. She was slightly stunned and then shouted. Who are you? How dare you barge into my cultivation place? Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on her. He condensed a large hand with divine power and grabbed the young woman. You, how dare you? The young woman was shocked. The combat sword in her hand slashed toward Lu Ming. This young lady had a cultivation base of peak 9th level void god realm, and the divine power she controlled was very powerful. However, such a cultivation base could not even withstand a single blow from Lu Ming. As the huge hand pressed down, the sword gleam collapsed and the young woman was caught in Lu Ming's hand. Third young miss, quickly release third miss. And NBSB behind them, the descendants of the ancient gods rushed over, and when they saw that the young woman had been captured, their expressions changed and they began to roar. Stop right there. Lu Ming condensed a large hand with divine power, grabbed the young woman, and shouted coldly. The descendants of the ancient gods all stopped in the distance, not daring to get close. It was obvious that the young woman silent. 1. Tai made them extremely afraid. You. Who was it? Quickly release me. The young woman cried out and struggled with all her might. However, with her cultivation, how could she possibly break free? Third miss, this person is an outsider and has ill intentions. A descendant of an ancient god shouted. You're an outsider? Let me go, you shameless outsider. The young woman struggled and cursed. However, Lu Ming was unmoved. He retreated rapidly with the young woman. Shwa shwa shwa. Behind them, many figures flew over like lightning. The one in the lead was the first elder of the ancient god clan. First elder, save me. The young woman cried for help. Brat, let him go. The first elder of the ancient god clan bellowed. His terrifying aura pressed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body trembled and he retreated. He almost spat out blood. Terrifying. The great elder of the ancient god clan was extremely powerful. He was definitely at the divine realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to emit such a terrifying pressure. Back off or I'll kill her. Die! Lu Ming shouted, exuding cold killing intent. The spear in his hand was aimed at the young woman's forehead. The first elder and the other members of the ancient god clan were shocked. Brat, you dare? The first elder of the ancient god clan roared. What's there to be afraid? Anyway, you won't let me go now. At most, we'll die together. It's worth it to have such a beauty to accompany me, hee. Lu Ming sneered. The great elder of the ancient god clan looked terrible. However, the young woman sighed. 1. Tai was not to be underestimated. She was the third daughter of the ancient god clan leader. And she was also a daughter that the ancient god clan leader loved dearly. He did not dare to act rashly. He could ignore the life and death of his son, but he couldn't ignore the life and death of the third daughter of the leader of the ancient god clan. Otherwise he would be in serious trouble. Kid, let me tell you, even if you catch the third lady, you can't leave ancient god's mountain. The ancient god clan will not compromise. The head elder of the ancient god clan said coldly. His face was determined. Lu Ming frowned. The great elder of the ancient god clan seemed to be determined not to let him leave the ancient god's mountain. He didn't even care about his son's life, as if he was afraid that the secret of the ancient god's mountain would be leaked. If Lu Ming were to use the same tactic and use the young woman as a hostage to force the other party to let him go, the other party might want to fight to the death again. If that was the case, he would definitely die in such an environment. The only thing he could do now was to take a step back. Who said him leaving the ancient god's mountain? I told you not to chase after me. Stop here. Do you understand? Lu Ming said coldly. He led the young woman and retreated slowly. As expected, the great elder of the descendants of the ancient god did not pursue him. He watched as Lu Ming slowly walked away. First elder, are we not going to chase? Someone asked. Let this kid leave first. This is ancient god's mountain, and he can't get out. Let's stabilize him first so that third lady doesn't get hurt. Also, inform the patriarch of this place immediately so that he can send more powerful warriors to kill that kid. The grand elder instructed. Yes, the other descendants of the ancient gods started to move. Lu Ming flew with the young woman. He heaved a sigh of relief when he realized that no one was chasing after them. Lu Ming specially flew towards a remote area. After flying for a while, Lu Ming found a hidden canyon and flew in. You outsider, let me go? Or my father won't let you off. The young woman called out. Is your father the clan leader of the descendants of the ancient gods? Lu Ming asked. Not bad. Now that you're afraid, let me go, you despicable and shameless outsider. The young woman glared at Lu Ming. As expected, she is the daughter of the clan leader, a descendant of an ancient god. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. No wonder the descendants of the ancient gods were so afraid. He sighed at his good luck to have met the daughter of the clan leader of the descendants of ancient gods. Otherwise, he would not have been able to escape. Stay here. Otherwise, it'll make you suffer. Lu Ming cast a cold glance at the young woman. If you want to kill me, then kill me. You're a vicious person. I'm not afraid of you. The young woman widened her eyes and glared at Lu Ming, as if she was not afraid of death. Chapter 2775 Secret. Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. Vicious? How am I vicious? You outsiders are all vicious people. You don't have good intentions in coming to ancient god's mountain. The young woman said coldly. We don't have good intentions? We're only here to pick some ancient god flowers. How can you say that we're vicious? You released the map of the ancient god's mountain to lure us here, then trapped us with the formation, and fed our flesh and blood to the ancient god flower. Who is more vicious, you or us? Lu Ming said coldly. You're talking nonsense, We, the descendants of the ancient gods, would never do such a cruel thing. Don't you slander us. The young woman gritted her teeth and looked at Lu Ming with a look of hatred. Could it be that this woman really doesn't know? Lu Ming's heart stirred. Stop pretending. Someone from your ancient god clan has set up a formation with the ancient god flower as the eye of the formation to absorb the flesh and blood of a large number of experts in order to condense the heart of the ancient god. Don't think I don't know about it. Also, the flesh and blood of outsiders like us won't be enough. When the time comes, I'm afraid most of the descendants of the ancient gods will be buried with you and sacrificed. Lu Ming said coldly. As he spoke, his eyes were fixed on the young woman, waiting for her reaction. The woman's face turned pale. She then glared at Lu Ming and shouted, "You're talking nonsense. This is impossible. That formation was set up by my father. My father would never do such a thing. Don't you dare slander him." So that formation was laid down by the clan leader of the ancient god descendants. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he sneered. It's not like you can't believe it. But it's the truth. We obtained hundreds of maps of ancient gods' mountain out of thin air. We found ancient gods' mountain through the maps, but in the end everyone died. I was the only one who was lucky enough to survive. Next, the descendants of ancient gods will die. Shut up. You're talking nonsense. Don't talk nonsense. I won't allow you to slander my father. The young woman shouted, but her eyes were no longer as firm as before. Instead, she looked suspicious. He is not talking nonsense. At this moment, an old voice came from outside the valley. The voice had come from far away, but by the time it had sounded, it was already very close. An expert, a top expert had come. Lu Ming was shocked. With a thought, the ice chain flew out and wrapped around the young woman, trying to control her. However, the moment the ice chains flew out, a terrifying pressure came from the sky. The pressure was heavier than a mountain. The 9 ice chains were trapped by the pressure. At the same time, the pressure pressed on Lu Ming's body, forcing him to retreat. At this moment, an old man holding a dragon-headed walking stick appeared in the valley. The wrinkles on his face were like mountains, making him look very old. Not good, it's a 3rd-level heavenly deity. We're finished this time, Bone shouted. Grandpa Gubo. Seeing the old man, the young woman smiled and ran to him. Xinger, are you all right? The old man looked at the young woman dotingly. This young woman's name was Gu Xing and fine Grandpa Gubo. This outsider actually slandered father just now. That's right, Grandpa Gubo. Why did you say he was right just now? Gu Xing was rather happy, but when she said the last sentence, she revealed a trace of suspicion. I mean, what this little guy said just now is very likely to be true. Sigh. Gubo sighed. Really? How is this possible? Impossible. This is impossible. Gu Xing's eyes revealed a look of disbelief as she shook her head. Lu Ming said that his father had set up a formation to nourish the ancient god flower with the flesh and blood of outsiders. Later on, he would also use the flesh and blood of the descendants of the ancient gods to nourish the ancient god flower. How was that possible? She could not believe it. Sigh, at first I didn't believe it either. But ever since the clan leader set up that great formation and gave the order to seal the mountain, I began to doubt it. All these years I've been investigating in secret, and I've finally found out that your father's obsession is too deep. He wholeheartedly wants the descendants of the ancient gods to walk on the path to glory, and he wholeheartedly wants to condense the ancient god heart. For this he will pay any price. Gubo sighed, his voice filled with helplessness. How could this be? How did this happen? Gu Xing was completely at a loss. This blow to her was really too big. If Gubo had not told her this news, she would never have believed it. However, Gubo would not lie to her. Little guy, you can see the function of that great formation with one look and deduce so many things. It's not simple. Gubo looked at Lu Ming, his face full of surprise. And NBSB, I was just randomly guessing. Senior, I have no ill intentions toward the ancient god descendants. I just want to take a few ancient god flowers. Could Senior allow me to leave? The ancient god emperor asked. Lu Ming explained. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to leave now. The patriarch has already given the order that all the exits have been sealed. Even if this old man wants to help you, I can't. Gubo said. All the exits have been sealed. Lu Ming frowned. This was troublesome. No, I have to stop my father. I have to stop him. Gu Xing called out in a daze, and was about to rush out of the valley. Gu Bo waved his hand. An array of Shen power enveloped Gu Xing, blocking her. Grandpa Gu Bo, why are you stopping me? I want to see my father. I want to stop him. Gu Xing shouted. Xing the patriarch's obsession is too deep, and the matter is about to reach the final step. If you go over, you won't be able to stop him. Instead, you'll be put under house arrest. Gu Bo said. Then what should we do? Was he just going to let it go? If it's true, then how many of our clansmen will die? He'll be a sinner through the ages. Gu Xing shouted. Of course he won't. If I'm not wrong, the clan leader will definitely choose to take action at the ancestral worship ceremony in a month. At that time, I'm afraid 90% of the clan will be sacrificed. Gu Bo said. Gu Xing quivered. That's right, the ancestral worship ceremony would be held in a month's time. At that time, all the descendants of the ancient gods would gather at the place where the 8 valleys converge to worship their ancestors. That would be the best time to strike. During this period of time, I will secretly gather some people. When your father makes his move, we will stop him. After Gu Bo said this, he looked at Lu Ming and said, Little friend, why don't you stay and help this old man? Only by stopping the patriarch's evil actions can you leave. At that time, this old man will give you some ancient god flowers. What do you think? All right then. Lu Ming nodded. In the current situation, he could only choose to agree. What else could he do if he didn't agree? Chapter 2776. It begins good. Now you two will leave with this old man. Once we arrive at my residence, I'll spread the news that I've already saved Xing. Little brother, you should change your appearance so that this old man can take you away. Gu Bo said. Lu Ming nodded. At this moment, he could only choose to believe in Gu Bo. Moreover, with Gu Bo's cultivation, there was no need to lie to him. He didn't have a hostage in his hands right now, so if Gu Bo wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as turning his hand. Immediately Lu Ming changed his appearance, changed his clothes, and flew out with Gu Bo. Not long after, a group of people flew over from the front. When they saw Gu Xing, they were instantly overjoyed. Third miss, you're all right? Someone revealed a look of joy. Don't worry, I've already saved third miss. Gu Bo said. Senior elder, I wonder how that foreign kid is doing? Someone asked. That brat has already been killed by me. There's no corpse left. You can rest assured. Gu Bo said. I see. The group of people nodded. However, when they glanced at Lu Ming, they still had a suspicious look on their faces. However, in front of Gu Bo, they didn't dare to be impudent. Gu Bo was one of the few remaining elders in the clan of the ancient gods' descendants, and his seniority was frighteningly high. This group of people cast a glance at Lu Ming, and left one after another. Lu Ming followed Gu Bo, and arrived at Gu Bo's residence without any danger. For the rest of the time, Lu Ming stayed here while Gu Bo secretly contacted the experts he could trust. After a month, he would stop the clan leader of the descendants of the ancient god. As for Gu Xing, she was obviously distracted. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. That day was the day the descendants of the ancient gods would worship their ancestors. The location was the gathering of the 8 valleys, the place where ancient godflowers were planted. That place was the holy land of the ancient god clan. The gathering place of the 8 valleys was filled with people. Most of the descendants of the ancient gods had come and gathered at the gathering place of the 8 valleys. On the northern cliff, there was a group of people standing. The leader was a middle-aged burly man with a square face and a dignified expression. He was the clan leader of the ancient god descendants, Gu Xing's father, Gu Xiong. Beside Gu Xiong stood the Grand Elder and some other elders. Let's start the ancestral worship. Gu Xiong's voice reverberated across the entire place. Welcome to the ancestral altar. All the ancient god clansmen shouted in unison. Then, 8 burly men carrying an altar flew over. With every step they took, there would be a fled sound in the void, as if they were carrying a divine mountain while walking. This altar was ancient and filled with the feeling of time. It was the ancestral altar of the ancient god. When the 8 brawny men carried the altar to the place where the 8 valleys gathered, the altar emitted a brilliant light. Runes appeared on it, then flew into the void and began to expand. Buzz! Gu Xiong's body flickered as he flew to the top of the altar and sat down cross-legged. All the descendants of the ancient gods bowed to Gu Xiong. Today after today, I will rise again. The ancient god clan will rise again. I hope you don't blame me. Your sacrifice is worth it. Looking at the tens of thousands of descendants of the ancient gods, Gu Xiong roared in his heart. He had been preparing for this day for far too long. Today he was going to condense the ancient god's heart and regain the glory of the ancient god. Second elder, fifth elder, you can all go down. At this moment, Gu Xiong looked at some people on the cliff. Many of them were elders of the descendants of the ancient gods. We're going down too? The elders were stunned. According to the usual practice, the elders could just stand on the cliff and did not need to go down. Not bad, you may all leave. Gu Xiong spoke again with a more serious tone. Although the elders were suspicious, they didn't disobey. They all flew to the bottom of the valley and stood in the sea of ancient god flowers. Of course, not all of the elders flew down. For example, the first elder and a few others stood there without moving. It was obvious that these people had known about Gu Xiong's plan long ago, and they were also Gu Xiong's supporters. Where's Xing'er? Didn't she come? Gu Xiong looked at the first elder. Third miss didn't come. She has been staying with Elder Gu Bo all this time. The great elder reported. Oh really? That's good. Gu Xiong's eyes flickered with an indescribable light. Actually, at this moment, Gu Xing had already arrived nearby. Gu Xing, Lu Ming, Gu Bo, and some of the people that Gu Bo had contacted came to a secret place in the distance, watching this side from afar. Father, I hope you won't do anything stupid. Gu Xing's hands were tightly clenched together. She was extremely nervous. At this moment, Gu Xiong started his speech. We, the descendants of the ancient gods, are the descendants of the ancient gods. And, blood flows in our bodies. We should have been the dominators and royal families of the primeval universe. But now we're hiding on a small star. My fellow clansmen, are you willing to accept this? Gu Xiong's voice sounded. I'm unwilling. I'm unwilling. The descendant of the ancient god clan shouted. His voice was so loud that it could topple mountains and overturn the seas. I'm also unwilling. Gu Xiong roared. I once swore that I would lead our race to glory in this life. For that, I would do anything, including my own life. What about you? Are you willing to sacrifice your lives for the glory of our race? I'm willing. I'm willing to sacrifice my life. The descendants of the ancient gods roared. All right, since you're all willing, then today will be the day you sacrifice yourselves to bring success to our tribe. Activate the formation. Gu Xiong shouted. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Activate the formation. The Grand Elder and the others also shouted. And MBSB the walls and the ground of the 8 valleys congregated in endless runes, creating a light barrier that completely enveloped all the ancient god descendants. What's going on? Chief, what are you doing? Many descendants of the ancient gods felt that something was wrong and immediately shouted. But the next moment, a scream was heard. And MBSB a ball of blood-colored mist appeared and covered one of the ancient god descendants. This descendant's cultivation wasn't high, so his flesh and blood were quickly corroded and turned into a pool of blood. What's going on? Chief, what are you doing? Many people shouted. Father! In the distance, Gu Xing suddenly collapsed onto the ground, as if she had been drained of all her strength. Her eyes were filled with disappointment. As expected. Rush out and stop them. Remember, close the formation first. Gu Bo roared and charged out first. The others followed Gu Bo and flew out. Lu Ming mixed in with the crowd and flew out together. Your sacrifice will bring glory to our clan. Rest in peace. Gu Xiong's cold voice sounded. Animal, you animal. You want to sacrifice us for your own benefit. Some elders finally saw through Gu Xiong's evil intentions and immediately shouted out. Chapter 2777 Stopping, Charge, Charge Out. And NBSB all the ancient god descendants were furious, and they all charged at the light shields and attacked them. However, when all the attacks the light shield did not move at all. It could not be broken at all. Miserable shrieks rang out continuously as the blood-colored mist in the array increased. Some of the weaker cultivators couldn't withstand it at all. Once they were enveloped by the blood-colored mist, only death awaited them. At this time, Gu Bo and the others had already arrived. Gu Xiong, you have the ambition of a wolf. You want to condense the heart of the ancient god by yourself, but you have to sacrifice so many of your clansmen. I will not allow you to do so. Gu Bo roared. It's Elder Gu Bo, it's Elder Gu Bo. The descendants of the ancient gods that were trapped in the formation were overjoyed when they saw Gu Bo. Gu Bo. Gu Xiong looked at Gu Bo. His eyes filled with cold killing intent. Leave Gu Xiong to me. You guys go and close the formation. Gu Bo shouted at the others, and then pounced towards Gu Xiong. You think you can stop me? Naive kill. Gu Xiong shouted as he flew up into the sky and threw a punch towards Gu Bo. Gu Bo didn't dodge at all, and also exploded with an attack, blasting out a terrifying move. Boom. The two of them collided with an earth-shattering boom, but the result was a tie. As the clan leader of the ancient gods' descendants, Gu Xiong's strength was also very shocking. He had reached the 3rd level of the celestial deity realm. The two of them fought intensely, and it was difficult to determine the winner. Lu Ming and the rest rushed to the base of the array on the cliff. Don't even think about closing the formation. Stop them. If they resist, kill them without mercy. The Great Elder gave the order and soared into the sky, erupting with a terrifying attack. Head Elder had 1st level celestial deity cultivation, and was extremely terrifying too. However, there was also a 1st level heavenly god on Lu Ming's side who charged at 1st Elder. The two sides were engaged in an intense battle. Lu Ming and the group were fighting with the others. Ice chains. At this moment, Lu Ming did not care about hiding his ident. One tie. He used all his strength. 9 ice chains flew out and swept toward the descendants of the ancient gods. It's you, an outsider. The 1st Elder recognized Lu Ming as soon as he attacked. He let out an angry roar, his eyes filled with ferocity. It was because of Lu Ming that he had to watch his son die in the formation. He could not wait to burn Lu Ming's bones and scatter his ashes. Kill this brat. The Great Elder roared. Leave this kid to me. An old man charged at Lu Ming, the saber in his hand slashing out rays of saber radiance. Clang, clang. The saber ray struck the ice chains and sent them flying back. This elder was an elder of the descendants of the ancient gods. His cultivation had reached the peak of true god, and he was astonishingly powerful. He was not any weaker than Le Zhong back then. Lu Ming was immediately blocked and he retreated. The two sides were locked in battle. Father, stop, stop. At this moment, Gu Xing also flew over and shouted, Xinger, go to the side. This is none of your business. Gu Xiong shouted, Father, let's stop. Those people are all from our clan. There aren't many people in our clan of ancient god descendants to begin with. If this continues, I'm afraid we'll be exterminated. Gu Xing shouted, Nonsense. As long as I can condense the ancient god's heart, I will definitely lead my clan to glory. Their sacrifices will be worth it. Gu Xiong roared, his eyes filled with madness. Father! Gu Xing's eyes were filled with disappointment. She gritted her teeth and rushed towards Gu Xiong. Xing, are you seeing Gu Xing rushing over? Gu Xiong was slightly startled. With such a shock, his attack speed was slightly slower, allowing Gu Bo to seize the opportunity to punch Gu Xiong's shoulder. Gu Xiong was forced back and coughed out blood. Gu Xiong, close the grand formation now. Don't be so stubborn. Kill. Gu Bo shouted. At this moment, the descendants of the ancient gods were dying in the formation. His heart was bleeding. Impossible. Gu Xiong roared. If that's the case, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Gu Bo charged towards Gu Xiong. Humph, Gu Bo, do you think I don't know that you'll stop me today? You think you're being secretive, but I've already seen through your plan. Come out. Gu Xiong sneered as he waved his hand. Buzz. Buzz. Suddenly, Two streaks of light shot out from not far away, flying towards Gu Bo at an astonishing speed. The two of them were both old people. One was an old man, and the other was an old woman. They both looked as old as Gu Bo, Gu Shang, Gu Ling. It's you? Gu Bo was shocked. Because these two were existences that were as famous as him. They were the other two elders of the descendants of the ancient gods. There were a total of 3 elders among the descendants of the ancient gods, which were Gu Bo, Gu Shang, and Gu Ling Kill. Gu Shang and Gu Ling immediately charged towards Gu Bo. The cultivation of the two of them was at the 3rd level heavenly deity realm, and their combat strength was not any weaker than Gu Bo's. With the two of them joining forces, Gu Bo was no match for them at all. He was sent flying with a single move, spitting out blood. Gu Shang, Gu Ling, what are you doing? Even you guys want your assistants to torture you? Gu Bo roared. However, Gu Shang and Gu Ling did not seem to hear him, and continued to charge towards Gu Bo. Their attacks were sharp and filled with killing intent. Ha ha ha. You don't have to shout anymore. They've been under my control for a long time. They're completely obedient to me. You can't stop me today. Ha ha ha. Gu Bo laughed. With a wave of his hand, a wave of god power swept out, covering Gu Xing and controlling her. At the same time, he moved and charged toward Lu Ming and the rest. Not good. Lu Ming and the rest were shocked. The other party suddenly had 2 3rd-level celestial deity powerhouses charge out. Their strength already completely surpassed their side. They were absolutely not a match. Lu Ming retreated without thinking. However, Gu Xiong had already noticed him. He snorted coldly and waved his hand. A huge palm print came crashing down on Lu Ming. The terrifying aura had completely locked onto Lu Ming, making it impossible for him to escape. However, Lu Ming would not give in. He would not sit and wait for death. The 3 apocalyptic strikes moon-cutting. Lu Ming growled and burst out with all his strength, turning into a shocking spear radiance and attacking the palm print. At the same time, the 9 ice chains stabbed at the palm print like 9 silver divine spears. Boom, boom. With a series of explosions, the spear radiance as thick as a mountain range struck the palm print, stirring up violent energy. However, Gu Xiong's palm print was too powerful. It burst out with an abundant amount of energy and Lu Ming's spear radiance was shattered. Even the 9 ice chains were shattered one by one. However, the ice chains were only a secret technique. If they were shattered, they could still be reformed. Boom. Lu Ming was hit by the palm print and fell heavily to the ground. He spat out a large mouthful of blood. Many bones in his body were broken. He had been severely injured. He didn't die? Gu Xiong was slightly stunned. Although that move just now was a casual move, it was extremely surprising that it didn't kill a stage 1 true god. Chapter 2778 Reversal Patriarch, don't kill him. Just kill him. It's too easy on him. I want to throw him into the formation and watch him die miserably as his flesh and blood are melted by the formation. The great elder shouted, his eyes extremely ferocious. His son had died in the formation because of Lu Ming. His flesh and blood had been melted. He wanted Lu Ming to die in the formation too. Only then could he vent the hatred in his heart. All right, then send him into the formation. Gu Xiong nodded. He waved his hand and a powerful force gushed out. Lu Ming was pushed by this force and flew into the formation. He's back. Lu Ming was speechless. He gathered his divine power to resist the blood-red mist outside. And in BSB, however, because of the battle outside, no one activated the array, so it operated rather slowly. The mist wasn't thick, so the number of ancient god descendants that had fallen was not particularly high. After sending Lu Ming into the formation, Gu Xiong attacked the others. The rest of the people couldn't resist Gu Xiong at all. They were all suppressed by Gu Xiong and sent into the formation one by one. Since they wanted to resist him, they should all turn into blood to nourish the ancient god flower and help him obtain the heart of the ancient god. Gu Bo's men were all wiped out. Gu Xing was under Gu Bo's control and couldn't move at all, her face full of disappointment and anxiety. And at this moment, Gu Bo himself was also in danger. Under the siege of 2 experts of the same level, He was completely outmatched. He was already injured and couldn't hold on for much longer. Gu Bo, let's go in together. Gu Xiong said coldly as he personally charged towards Gu Bo. Gu Bo was already no match for him. And with Gu Xiong's help, it was even more difficult for him to fight back. After a few moves he was hit by Gu Xiong and was seriously injured. Bang! Bang! Gu Xiong and Gu Ling attacked from the front and back, each striking Gu Bo. Gu Bo's divine body almost exploded, and his injuries became more serious. He had no power to fight back. Gu Bo, go in. Gu Xiong said coldly. His vast divine power suppressed Gu Bo and sent him into the formation. In this way, Gu Bo and the others were completely annihilated. Grandpa Gu Bo, father, don't. Gu Xing shouted. Shut up. What I'm doing is the great matter of reviving the descendants of the ancient gods. What do you know? Gu Xiong shouted coldly. With a flash of his body, he returned to the altar. Continue operating the formation. Gu Xiong ordered. Activate the formation. The first elder and the others appeared on the 8 cliffs to control the formation. Within the formation, runes filled the air and were extremely dazzling. The blood-colored mist was rapidly increasing. More and more descendants of the ancient gods began to fall. Gu Xiong, you'll die a horrible death. You've lost your mind for your own selfish reasons. And MBSB, many of the ancient god descendants cursed and swore. However, Gu Xiong remained calm and unmoved. As the descendants of the ancient gods continued to fall, their flesh and blood seeped into the ground, and were absorbed by the ancient god flower. The flower became more beautiful and plump. The ancient god flowers that covered the entire mountain gave off a strong fragrance. It's time. Gu Xiong's eyes were filled with anticipation. He quickly formed a hand seal, and runes entered the altar under his feet. The altar glowed with a bright light. Lines of runes extended out like tentacles and merged with the array. Buzz. At that moment, the entire place where the 8 valleys gathered trembled. Then all the ancient god flowers emitted strands of blood-red energy that gathered toward Gu Xiong. Gu Xiong was immediately surrounded by a layer of blood-red energy. It's here, it's here. Ha ha ha, I'm going to condense the heart of the ancient god. Gu Xiong was ecstatic. They were called the descendants of ancient gods, but in fact, the bloodline of ancient gods in their bodies was extremely thin, and their potential was also very limited. However, once he condensed the ancient god's heart, it would be different. His potential would be limitless, and his future improvements would be shocking. Sigh, is it still difficult to stop it? Gu Bo heaved a long sigh, full of helplessness. Ha ha ha, even the heavens are on my side. No, the heavens are on your side, kid. At this moment, in his knowledge sea, Bone Demon was laughing excitedly. You're still smiling so happily when we're almost done for. Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. Nonsense. Kid, your great opportunity has arrived. Bone laughed. Lucky chance? What kind of opportunity? Lu Ming asked. Those idiots. If they had killed you outside the formation, I wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. However, they acted smart and sent you into the formation. I have a way. Bone laughed. What is it? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Don't you have the measure formula? You can use it to fight for the ancient god flower's energy with the patriarch. If you can attract all the energy, I have a way to make it yours and help you condense the heart of the ancient god. Bone said. This works too. Lu Ming was overjoyed. It should be possible. I can attract all the energy from the outside. The voice of the Quant. 1. Tai formula sounded. Then all the members of the ancient god clan will die? Lu Ming frowned. There's no need. As long as the measure formula absorbs the energy from the outside and fights with the clan leader will suffer a backlash and the formation will stop. Don't worry, the ancient god flower's energy is enough to form the heart of the ancient god. It's just that the clan leader is too greedy. Bone said. All right, let's not delay any further. Let's begin. Lu Ming said hurriedly. Watch this old lady. The measure formula was called out and the words emitted a dazzling radiance. Even Lu Ming's glabella was suffused with a layer of light. Ooh. A terrifying suction force was produced. The energy that was originally gathering toward Gu Xiong suddenly changed its direction and gathered toward Lu Ming. All of it surged into Lu Ming's glabella and entered the measure character. However, it was not refined this time. After the quant. 1. Tai formula, it immediately spread out and surged into Lu Ming's body. Condense. The bone demon made its move. It conjured a strange seal and guided the energy, directing it to Lu Ming's heart. What's going on? What's going on? At this moment, Gu Xiong roared furiously. Everything had been fine. The energy of the ancient god flower had been gathering towards him, and he had a feeling that he would be able to form the heart of the ancient god very soon. However, the energy outside suddenly changed direction and gathered toward Lu Ming. To his horror, he had already fused with the array. He could not control his body at all. The energy that he had just absorbed, and even his own energy gushed out continuously and surged towards Lu Ming. That brat D-minute stop. Gu Xiong roared in anger. What was going on? The others were also baffled and couldn't figure it out. Suck'll suck. LL suck. The measure formula absorbed the energy from the outside world with all its might. The energy in the ancient god flower, including Gu Xiong's, continuously gathered toward Lu Ming. Chapter 2781 Condensing the Ancient God's Heart. Gu Xiong suffered from the backlash. The blood mist in the formation didn't become thicker. Instead, it became thinner. Damn. It you little b. Ast. Ard, what have you done? Stop, stop. Gu Xiong roared madly. He was about to go crazy. The energy he had absorbed from the ancient god flower had all been absorbed by Lu Ming. His own energy, blood, and essence had all been turned into blood qi for Lu Ming to absorb. His essence qi was being seriously consumed, and his body was quickly shriveling. This made him extremely frightened. At this moment, there was a crimson light spot shining at Lu Ming's heart. Energy from the quant. 1. Tai formula was constantly surging and gathering at his heart. Lu Ming was about to condense the ancient god's heart. On the ground, the ancient god flowers that had covered the entire mountain were also shriveling. This is the backlash. Gu Ba's eyes brightened, as if he had seen through something. He was very surprised. This way, at least the descendants of the ancient gods wouldn't have to be buried with them. Close the formation, close the formation. Gu Xiong roared. First Elder and the others quickly shut down the array. The light barrier disappeared, and the blood-colored mist disappeared as well. However, Gu Xiong did not obtain his freedom. He had been completely pinned down and merged with the formation. As long as the Liang word formula did not let go, he would not be free. DM, go and kill that brat. Gu Xiong roared. Kill. First Elder and the rest charged at Lu Ming. Don't even think about it. Everyone, let's attack together and stop them. Gu Bo roared. Attack. With the disappearance of the formation, the people who were trapped in the formation could naturally attack. They launched an attack on the First Elder and the others in anger. There were many of them. All of them attacked and blocked the attacks of the First Elder and the others. Kill. Gu Shang and Gu Ling were under Gu Xiong's control. They followed Gu Xiong's orders and charged at Lu Ming. Let's stop the two of them together. Gu Bo gathered his remaining strength and brought a few heavenly god realm elders to attack Gu Shang and Gu Ling. Although Gu Bo and the others were at a disadvantage, they were able to delay their movements. What are you guys doing? I'm going to lead the descendants of the ancient gods to glory, so why are you stopping me? You've betrayed your ancestors. Gu Xiong cursed like a mad dog. Gu Xiong, you've gone completely mad. You've sacrificed so many of your clansmen for your own selfish reasons. You're the one who has betrayed your ancestors. Gu Bo coldly shouted. However, Gu Xiong didn't seem to hear him. He just kept cursing. At this moment, his body had already shriveled up and turned into skin and bones, like a skeleton. His chi essence and blood essence were almost completely absorbed. Even if the quant. 1. Tai formula stopped now, he was already a cripple. The divine fire in his body had been completely extinguished. At the same time, the ancient god flowers that covered the entire mountain had completely shriveled up. All the energy was absorbed by the quant. 1. Tai formula and gushed into Lu Ming's body. Ancient God's heart condense. The bone demon shouted in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. Lu Ming's heart had completely changed. It was filled with a piercing blood-red color, and was filled with endless energy. It was beating nonstop. And envious bihuhu. All of a sudden, extremely pure qi and blood gushed out from his heart, and seeped into the depths of Lu Ming's body in an instant. Lu Ming's divine body was transforming rapidly. It was improving at an alarming rate. The ancient god's heart had been successfully condensed. Roar. At the moment when the ancient god's heart was successfully condensed, Lu Ming seemed to hear a loud roar from his heart that seemed to come from ancient times. He seemed to see an incomparably huge ancient god rampaging through the universe. With a punch, a star would explode. At that moment, not only was Lu Ming's divine body improving rapidly, but his cultivation was also improving rapidly. With an astonishing speed, he got closer to peak first stage true god. Soon his cultivation reached the peak of stage 1 true god realm. Boom. A loud boom erupted from his body, and his cultivation broke through to the second stage of true god realm smoothly. Moreover, it was rapidly charging towards peak stage 2 true god realm. Why? On the altar, Gu Xiong let out a miserable shriek. He knew that he had been completely defeated. He had become a cripple, and his life was hanging by a thread. As Gu Xiong was crippled, Gu Shang and Gu Ling's bodies trembled violently, and they suddenly stopped. Initially, their eyes were filled with confusion, but at this moment, they regained their consciousness. Gu Bo, stop. Gu Shang roared. Gu Shang, you've recovered? Gu Bo stopped and was overjoyed. I've recovered. Gu Shang nodded and looked around. He sighed and said, Good, I almost made a big mistake. Gu Xiong and Gu Luo. Gu Ling's eyes were extremely cold as he looked at the Great Elder and the others. His body moved and he rushed towards the Great Elder, sending a palm strike down. Not good. What? The first elder was shocked and tried to block, but he was no match for Gu Ling. He was suppressed by Gu Ling's palm and spat out a mouthful of blood. Gu Bo, Gu Shang and the others also rushed over. The people who followed Gu Xiong were instantly suppressed. Why is it like this? The first elder was at a loss. Finally his gaze fell on Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming's body was blood-red, and he exuded a sense of majesty. This majesty made all the descendants of the ancient gods feel apprehensive. This was the suppression of their blood vessels. This meant that Lu Ming's blood vessels were much stronger than theirs. Ancient god's heart. He has actually condensed the ancient god's heart. Gu Shang muttered to himself in shock. It's indeed the ancient god's heart. I really didn't expect that Gu Xiong's scheme would end up benefiting someone else's disciple. Gu Bo also laughed. However, such an ending was already the best ending. The crisis of the descendants of the ancient gods had finally said. At that moment, the aura on Lu Ming's body slowly stabilized. The energy fluctuations on his body also disappeared. It's a pity that I'm just a little bit away from reaching the third stage of true god. Lu Ming sighed. Now his cultivation was peak second stage true god. Kid, you're still not satisfied after getting such a great opportunity. Most of the ancient god flower's energy was used to condense the ancient god's heart. Your cultivation has only increased by a little bit, and your divine body has also increased by several times. You should be satisfied. Bone said. Senior, what's the use of the ancient god's heart? Lu Ming asked. Forming the ancient god's heart has already given you a rich ancient god bloodline. The ancient god's heart will automatically absorb the energy from the outside world to strengthen your divine body. Even if you don't cultivate in the future, your divine body will continue to grow. Do you understand? Bone said. It can continue to grow without cultivating? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This function was really heaven-defying. An ancient god's gate. After knowing the function of the ancient god's heart, Lu Ming's heart was burning with Shaun. If his divine body continued to grow stronger, would he become as strong as an ancient god in the future? Kid, I have another piece of good news for you. Just now, I kept absorbing energy, and there's still a lot of energy left in my body. Once I refine it, I'll transfer it to you, and your cultivation will increase by another level. The Quant. 1. Thai formula said. Really? Lu Ming was about to burst out laughing. This time, although the process was very dangerous, the harvest was also amazing. His cultivation had increased to the second stage of true God realm, and he had condensed the ancient God heart. His divine body was also several times stronger than before. With the strength of his current divine body, it was already enough to cultivate the battle character formula to 4 times his combat power. What a great harvest! Lu Ming collected his thoughts and calmed down. He scanned the crowd and his gaze finally landed on the First Elder. At that moment, First Elder was glaring at Lu Ming with a venomous look. You don't have to look at me like that. I have to thank you. If you didn't send me into the formation, I wouldn't have been able to condense the heart of the ancient God. Lu Ming smiled faintly. The great elder was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. It was too late for him to regret. His intestines were green with regret. Previously, Gu Xiong had wanted to kill Lu Ming, but he had insisted on sending Lu Ming into the formation. He had never expected that he would help Lu Ming instead, causing their plan to fail at the last step. Gu Xiong was so infuriated that he almost died. He regretted not killing Lu Ming with a single blow. If he had, he would have been the one to condense the ancient God's heart. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. It was too late to regret now. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The place where the 8 valleys congregated, along with the 8 valleys, suddenly trembled violently. Even the ground shook violently. The ancient God flowers that had covered the entire mountain had already dried up. Now they had turned into ashes and scattered. However, the ground was still emitting a blinding light. What's going on? What's going on? And MBSB many of the ancient God descendants began to cry out. Even Gu Xiong, Gu Bo and the others were at a loss, not knowing what was going on. The shaking of the ground became stronger and stronger, and the light on the ground became stronger and stronger. There was even an extremely terrifying aura that burst out. It was filled with an ancient and imposing aura. It was as if a mountain was pressing on everyone's body, and some people even almost spat out blood. Retreat! Retreat! Gu Bo shouted, calling for the descendants of the ancient gods to retreat. Only after retreating a long distance did the pressure lessen. Senior Gu Bo, what's going on? Lu Ming stood beside Gu Bo and asked curiously. I don't know. The gathering place of the 8 valleys is the holy land of the descendants of the ancient gods. All the time, the worship of the ancestors has been carried out here, but such a situation has never happened before. Gu Bo frowned. He had lived for a long time, but this was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Boom, boom. The ground where the 8 valleys gathered shook more and more violently. Finally, a huge pillar of light shot into the sky. There had been mysterious formations around the ancient God's mountain, which was why it could be hidden from the outside world. However, at this moment, the light pillar shot up into the sky and broke the formation around the ancient God's mountain. Once the formation was broken, the ancient God's mountain would be exposed. As for the light shield, it directly shot into S.P.A.C. The light beam was so bright that even those who were standing on another planet outside the ancient God star could see it, let alone the ancient God star itself. At least half of the people on the ancient God star had seen the light beam, and countless people were looking in this direction. Then, what's that? What a terrifying commotion. Could a peerless treasure have appeared? Let's go and take a look. With a flash of their bodies, they rushed in the direction of ancient God's mountain. At that moment, Lu Ming and the rest were dumbfounded. Because at this moment, at the place where the light valley gathered, a door was slowly emerging. This was a huge bronze door that was 10,000 zhang in height. It stood tall between the heaven and earth, and there were many ancient godly spirits carved on it. Could this be the legendary ancient god sect? Gu Bo seemed to have thought of something and shouted in shock. His old body was trembling with excitement. The Gate of Ancient God. It must be the Gate of Ancient God. The legendary Gate of Ancient God that leads to the world of ancient gods. I didn't expect the place where the 8 valleys gathered to have a hidden ancient god's gate. Gu Shang and Gu Ling also shouted excitedly, their eyes burning with excitement. There was an ancient legend among the descendants of the ancient gods. Legend had it that the gate of ancient god led to the world of the ancient gods. If one had the chance to enter the world of the ancient gods, one would have the chance to become an ancient god and become invincible in the world. How could they not be moved by this? The gate of ancient god that leads to the ancient god world. Lu Ming was shocked when he heard that. The gate of ancient god appeared. It stood between the heaven and earth and gave off a blinding light. The gate of ancient god was made up of 2 bronze doors that were tightly shut. However, as time passed, the light on the gate of ancient god became dimmer and dimmer. Finally, the light disappeared, leaving only an ancient bronze door standing between the heaven and earth. The vast pressure had also disappeared. Let's go and take a look. Gu Bo, Gu Shang, Gu Ling, and the others couldn't stay calm. They rushed toward the gate of ancient god. The other descendants of the ancient gods followed closely behind, leaving only a few behind to guard the Grand Elder and the others. Giggle. Giggle. At this moment, Qiu, which had been on Lu Ming's wrist in the form of a bangle, turned into a round ball and floated in the air. A pair of eyes appeared on its eye. And it stared at the gate of ancient god. Its mouth was wide open and it looked extremely excited. Little guy, what do you want to do? Lu Ming was a little curious. Giggle giggle. Qiu's big mouth kept closing, and its eyes were filled with greed as it stared at the door of the ancient god. You don't tell me you're thinking of gnawing at that bronze door? Lu Ming asked speechlessly. He did not expect Qiu to nod continuously. Lu Ming's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Little fellow, don't act rashly, Lu Ming instructed in a low voice. He took Qiu and flew toward the ancient god's gate. Gu Bo and the rest had already landed below the gate of ancient god. The gate of ancient god was huge. It was tens of thousands of feet tall and tens of thousands of feet wide. They were as small as ants before the gate of ancient god. Gu Bo and the others tried to push the gate of ancient god open, but it was like an ant trying to shake a tree. The gate of ancient god did not move at all. In the end, almost all the descendants of the ancient gods joined forces to push the gate of ancient god, but the result was the same. Lu Ming also joined in, but it was useless. Brat, don't waste your time. This gate is extremely ancient and heavy. There is a great formation carved on it. You can't open it with just your strength. Bone said. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.